said and go, okay, these women have come forward in droves. They've been brave. They've named names. They've talked to the FBI, and still nothing's done. So that just could be depressing. The optimism that I find and that I hope people take out of this book is, and I've said it again and again, is I hope people understand that they should never underestimate the power of their own individual outrage. Do you want to live in a society that allows wealthy men, mostly some women, to rape underage children? Do you want to live in a world like that? If you don't, you can speak up. And how do we have the proof of that can matter? Virginia. Virginia is a young woman who never graduated from high school in the United States. She had no material wealth. And at one point, after she has her third child, who happens to be female, she decides, I don't want to live in a world like this. I don't want to raise my children in a world like this. And I'm going to make the world better. She had no reason to believe that she could do that. She didn't have power behind her at that point, or resources. But she decided, and she started speaking up. And I think there is no question, while there is a lot of credit to go around for the progress that's been made, that Virginia, she inspired a lot of these other survivor sisters to come forward. She started a movement. And if she can do that, we all need to be doing it. And we should be inspired by that. You know, what kind of world do you want to live in? Decide, and then start doing something about it. Don't sit on your hands, or in the United States, don't go like, well, what can I do? You know, all these, you know, the Trump administration is corrupt, or whatever people are saying. That's a cop-out. Step up, speak out, make your world, whether it's your local community, the world you want it to be, and be loud about it. And I think I do find that inspiring.
Amy Wallace, I'm very glad I've read the book. It wasn't easy, but it got easier and more hopeful. And I think you've articulated that really, really, really well. No. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work you've put in.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to The Interview. For more compelling conversations, search for The Interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts. You'll find episodes from writer Maggie O'Farrell, Sierra Leone's First Lady, Fatima Bio, and head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros. Until the next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was the...
Good morning, Manitoba. Hello, Winnipeg. I'm Julie Buckingham. In for Marcy Marcusa today. You're with Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Welcome to a Friday morning. The current temperature outside our studio is pretty warm already at 19 degrees. You're going to start off your commute with some sunshine. You'll want to bring that umbrella, though, as there's a very good chance that we'll see some rain, maybe even a thunder boomer this morning. And it's going to be sticky and windy as we go into a bit of a hot, dry stretch here in the city of Winnipeg. But I don't want to steal the thunder of some of our team. Let's say hello to them. Abby Adeyemi is our senior tech and is looking after all of your weather needs. Darren Morash is the YouTube producer. Sierra Sanders is our show's director this morning and also will cover your commute. Information Radio is with you until 8:37 this morning. Let's kick things off, heading to our news center with headlines. Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. It's been a difficult week. Manitoba Mounties say the body of Aaron O. Ramirez has been recovered from Winnipeg Lake. The 13-year-old had jumped into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday after his little brother Maximo slipped on some rocks and fell into the lake. After days of searching, Aaron was found at 7:45 last night, police say. Maximo's body had been found the day before. A fleet of boats made up of volunteers and emergency workers worked through the week trying to find them. At the bottom of the hour, we'll hear how the family is doing.
All right. Thanks so much.
Back soon.
Matt Humphrey at your CBC News desk this morning. Lots to come on Information Radio this morning. We will be speaking to a former gallery owner who is now getting dialysis 3 times a week. And instead of just dealing with that medical issue, he's now giving back to the very people who take care of him by using what he knows best, and that is Art will let you know how he's doing that. Shoplifting is up, car theft is down, just two of the many things that we are learning from the new Statistics Canada data on crime in this country. We'll dig further into that report as well. And of course, Canada's still facing those tariff threats from the U.S. We'll deal with that this morning as well. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back after World Report.
On cue.
I'm Garbia Bailey, in for Tom Power. She's a magician, comedian, fire eater, and the creative force behind the internet sensation Lucy Darling. Carissa Hendricks will be here to tell you about finding a community of magicians in Calgary and what it's like navigating the male-dominated field.
You're thinking, oh, I suppose I could do that if I wanted to.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. It's considered to be a major milestone in Canada-US trade. Today, officials will attend a ceremony to celebrate the upcoming opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. But it comes at a time when trade relations between the two nations are strained, Canada facing new U.S. tariffs, all of which means today's celebration of what should represent a stronger bond between the two nations won't be a joint celebration. The CBC's Nisha Patel has more.
And there's lots of excitement on both sides of the border.
Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkin says it's been a long time coming. The Gordie Howe Bridge that will connect his Ontario city to Detroit, Michigan, is about to open after more than 7 years of construction that cost $6.4 billion. Canadian officials will celebrate the occasion today, though escalating trade tensions prompted them to back out of a joint ribbon cutting with Americans.
We're caught in this dramatic event with President Trump, but this bridge is going to serve the needs of our two countries for many, many generations to come.
The project has been plagued by opposition from the billionaire owners of the competing Ambassador Bridge, as well as demands by Donald Trump to renegotiate the original deal. Canada, which funded the bridge alone, has now inked a separate agreement to share with the U.S. net revenues from tolls after operating costs for the first 15 years. President of the Canadian Trucking Alliance, Stephen Laskowski, says it's worth it.
It's a beacon for investment. It's a beacon for more efficiency.
Billions of dollars in goods pass back and forth over the Ontario-Michigan border every year. The new crossing opens to commercial traffic on Monday and will cut wait times for truckers, saving businesses time and money.
You're reducing your cost, you're becoming more productive, which allows you to reinvest into your fleets.
A much-needed boost for Canadian companies as they navigate an uncertain economy. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Australia is one of the many countries speaking out against U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariffs. As of midnight, the U.S. imposed duties of 10 to 12.5% on more than 60 trading partners, including Canada. The White House claims the new levies are because these countries aren't doing enough to end forced labor. Nations around the world are reacting. Don Farrell is Australia's trade minister.
We think and we believe, the Albanese government believes, that this imposition of higher tariffs on Australia is completely unjustified, and we will continue to lobby the United States Trade Representative to remove all tariffs on Australian goods.
Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc says the move was not unexpected and adds Canada has one of the world's most robust frameworks to prevent and address forced labor. The European Commission says TikTok is not adequately protecting children's privacy rights. That's the findings of an investigation into the company's compliance with its Digital Services Act. The Commission says accounts of minors can be accessed by adults. It says by not blocking that feature, children are at risk of cyberbullying, unwanted contact, and predatory behavior. TikTok can now defend itself and respond to the findings. If not satisfied with the company's response, the Commission could issue a non-compliance decision and a possible fine worth up to 6% of TikTok's total annual revenue. Oil prices are back up, driven by the growing conflict in the Middle East. Brent crude hit $100 US a barrel yesterday, all of which has the industry projecting significant profits. But as David Thurton reports, environmental groups are raising questions about Ottawa's ongoing support and subsidies.
In particular, we're seeing a very worrying pattern with this government.
Nicole Dusick is with the Institute for Sustainable Development. She says she's been watching as the current government rolls back another climate policy. She says the government is giving companies money through the carbon capture tax credit to help them pump out hard-to-reach oil.
In our view, this is clearly a subsidy and a subsidy that should be phased out.
In 2023, the Trudeau government vowed to end what it called inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. One group has been keeping tabs on how much money still flows from government coffers to the oil and gas companies. Environmental Defense's Julia Levin estimates $10 billion were spent last year. Halfway through 2026, she says that figure stands at $4 billion.
The government continues to put a huge amount of public money, of our money, into projects that are fueling the climate crisis.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Canada's finance minister suggests the current government remains committed to phasing out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, noting Canada is the lone country in the world to release a rigorous analytical guide. The statement did not address ongoing public funding allocated to major energy firms, which have posted strong profits. David Thornton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Firefighters rushed to put out flames of a wildfire burning just west of Spain's capital, Madrid. The government has now declared a state of emergency. More than 10,000 people have been forced to leave as fires burn through several villages in the country's central region. Wildfires also burning through parts of France and Italy. France has ordered the total evacuation of the Cap Ferrat Peninsula, a major tourist destination. Paris also seeking emergency assistance from the European Union. They're promoted to help improve your skin, shed those pounds, and invigorate your libido. But Health Canada has been warning about the risks of unauthorized peptides. Now, a CBC News investigation has uncovered doctors using a regulatory loophole to prescribe peptide pills. As Ithel Musa reports, experts say the treatments are unproven, potentially risky, and they want that loophole closed.
Peptides might sound like the future of health, but they are already here.
Despite their growing popularity on social media, Health Canada has been warning against unauthorized peptides as a health and fitness shortcut, citing serious risks like hormonal imbalances and the growth of cancerous tumors.
I cannot tell you how obsessed with BPC I am.
BPC 157 is promoted online by influencers to help repair muscles and improve gut health. The peptide has not been approved by Health Canada. The regulator also says there is limited scientific evidence to support its use. But CBC News has found more than a dozen doctor-led clinics in Canada prescribing the peptide in pill form.
Look, there is no good evidence to support the use of these peptides in the way that they're generally being prescribed.
Timothy Caulfield is a professor in the Faculty of Law and the School of Public Health at the University of Alberta.
These physicians, these MDs, are leveraging a longevity wellness trend.
Health Canada says BPC 157 is not an authorized drug and it's not approved for use in any natural health products, but it may be compounded in pill form as a natural health product by pharmacies that formulate custom medications.
Compounding pharmacies are not supposed to be a way to go around regulatory rules.
One doctor who prescribes BPC 157 pills says he's not circumventing regulatory oversight. He always seeks to optimize patient care, and he's candid with patients about the state of the research on BPC 157. Ithel Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
And finally, a small Newfoundland community is grieving after 2 men died at sea while fishing for cod. The incident is now prompting calls for changes in fishing regulations. The CBC's Laura Howells has more from Harbour Round on Newfoundland's Bayvert Peninsula.
Do anything for anybody.
Sisters and a niece remembering Stanley Giles, 66 and a fisherman for most of his life.
He went out there and he risked his life every day on the water to provide for his family, but you know what? He didn't want to be anywhere else.
Giles and Michael Peter Seymour died this week. They were cod fishing when their speedboat took on water. Stanley's brother, Junior, survived. He declined an interview, but swam about 100 meters in the Atlantic and climbed onto the rocks. He pulled Seymour ashore and did CPR to save him. He waited hours for a rescue boat. Then he helped search the water for his brother's body.
We got to stay strong for the one that survived.
The devastating loss is prompting calls for change from Giles' family and other fish harvesters. The water was rough, but it was one of the few days the processor was buying. They have limited capacity and strict schedules. If it's not your day, you don't fish.
What do you do when you only got a couple of days to get your quota? You take the risk, you go.
Provincial Representative Lynn Paddock says he'll take concerns back to the fisheries minister and federal government, but said now is the time for supporting the families. But for people here, now is the time for action, hoping for more control in what days people can fish so they don't have to risk rough seas.
One thing I'd like for to come out of this is that the government would make change. We have 2 more souls gone.
Laura Howells, CBC News, Harbour Round, Newfoundland and Labrador.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning to you, everyone. I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, on the app and on YouTube. Welcome to Friday morning. Outside our studios here at Portage and Spence, sitting at 18 degrees under a yellow warning actually for heat as we anticipate it getting very warm today with the humidity feeling like about 38 degrees. Abby will run down your full forecast in a moment. We're not the only ones under a yellow warning this morning. This hour on the show, new data from Statistics Canada reveals crime was down last year for the second year in a row, but one criminologist says we should take that data with a grain of salt. We'll have that story on Information Radio. We'll also get a heartwarming story of a former gallery owner who is now giving back to people who are looking after him. All right, let's head to the news center now and join Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. After nearly a week of searching, a grieving family finally has some degree of closure. The body of Aaron O. Ramirez was recovered from Nunavik Lake last night at 7:45. Police say the 13-year-old had jumped into Sturgeon Falls after his 10-year-old brother Maximo slipped on the rocks. The body of Maximo was found Wednesday evening. After notifying the family, RCMP thanked the fleet of volunteers who helped in the search. At the bottom of the hour, we hear the latest from Nunavik Lodge, where the family has been staying. And in other news, the mayor of Steinbach is questioning why the premier has yet to make a public visit to Manitoba's third largest city. In almost 3 years of governing, Wab Kinew has yet to meet constituents in the automobile city. The mayor says such a visit would be meaningful. Kinew says he plans to visit later this year to attend Steinbach's Pride Parade. More news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Back soon.
Matt Humphrey at the CBC News Center. As promised, Abby Adeyemi is here. It is going to be, what is it like? The 3 H's, hazy, hot, and humid.
Yeah, hazy, hot, and humid, that's it. And of course, don't forget to hydrate today because you will be, the 4th H, hydrate. Because it's going to be a hot one. It's going to be hazy across much of the province today. Looking at southern Manitoba from the Pembina Valley region all the way towards the Interlake region, not even leaving out the Red River Valley region. We have this yellow level heat warning in effect. We're talking about eye heat and of course heavy muggy hair will make it really feel near 40 degrees for folks in southern Manitoba today. So plenty of water and of course staying hydrated would be the key for today, even into the weekend. Looking at conditions up north, we still have those air quality warnings active for regions around the PAR, tracking it all the way towards Tudula Lake this morning due to smoke from fires burning in nearby communities. So the skies are still hazy there, and of course really making the air really tough to breathe. So take it easy if you're spending time outside. But for Winnipeg now, we're seeing temperatures near 19 degrees, partly clouded. The sun is about to make its appearance, and once it comes, it's going to start warming things up where we get to that humid high of 30 with some breezy conditions. But the humidity, as mentioned, is going to make it feel in the 40s. So be prepared for that, and that's what we will see across the southern regions. But up north, we are looking at 10 degrees in the Churchill area at this time, just going to get to 12 later. So it's more about the intense heat that's going to be holding down the southern part of the province, while up north still dealing with smoke and some wet conditions. I see thunderstorms in the Brandon area at this time, so look out for that. Winnipeg, we are aiming for 30 today. It's like barbecue.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And grab that umbrella too, because
Grab
there's
an umbrella.
a good chance that we'll see some showers here in the city as well. And when we know when it gets showers at Sierra Sanders, that often slows down traffic, but certainly not the case right now.
Not the case right now here, Julie, as we kick off the show this Friday morning. But I will let folks know the number to call today if you are seeing something out there, whether it's an incident or a backup. I'd love to hear from you no matter where you are in the province, whether you are here in Winnipeg or anywhere else. You can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Almost 15 minutes after 6 o'clock now, and a retired Manitoba Gallery owner is now giving back to nurses at Seven Oaks Hospital. Jeff Gazenzer owned Fleet Galleries in the Exchange for over 40 years. He's been living with kidney disease since the early 2000s, and 3 years ago, things took a turn, and Jeff was forced to retire and sell his business. But he is continuing to spread the joy at the clinic he now visits for his dialysis, and he joins us now. Good morning. Thank you for doing this.
Hi, good morning. My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to give back to those nurses.
Okay, well, for one thing, because I was a gallery owner, I knew quite a few artists from having exhibitions for them and also doing all their picture framing for them. And the artists who donated a painting for free raffle are Andrew Hebert, Wes Harkis, Neil Stooner, Jared Lowen, Cash Akosa, Nigel Bart, and myself, and also my 5-year-old grandson. And also there was one other one that wasn't a piece of art, a Tara Davis Studio Boutique. She donated all kinds of products for women and that, and it was her pleasure to help out. She also has kidney disease too.
Wow. Sounds like it was an easy sell, if you will, to get these artisans and your grandson on board here and this other boutique owner.
Yeah, it was fun. And they were, out of the goodness of their heart, they donated a painting or anything else like that. So it was nice of them to do that.
When you told the nurses, listen, this is what I'm going to do, it's going to be free, this is going to be my way to give back, what was their reaction?
Excited, joking with each other, laughing, and like I have a real rapport with all the nurses, the doctors, and the nurses' aides. We get along great, we joke, and so on. When I first found out that I had to go for dialysis, I was a little bit worried because I didn't know what was going to happen. And after about a month and a half, things started to cheer up a little bit about it, and just the way the nurses looked after me, and my last name Gazenzer, that's a German name. Most of the girls there are Filipinos. Hi, Mr. Gazenzer. How are you? They can pronounce it perfectly.
And art is such a subjective thing. It sounds like with the variety of names you've listed, there's probably a wide variety of pieces that you've been able to give away.
Oh yeah, like Neil Stooner, he did graffiti. Wes donated. He is a tattoo artist, and he did some really nice stuff. And my son, Cash Akosa, is one of the better artists in Canada. And my grandson, he's into art because both of his parents are artists. And my son and my daughter-in-law, and it's just a really fun, good thing to be involved in. And so what happens is every 3 weeks, another artist friend would donate a piece of art, and after the 3 weeks, I would make a draw, and that person would win that painting, and so on. And they had a crazy time.
I'm sure deciding to retire was a bit of a crazy time, too. What was that like for you?
That was very difficult after all those years and meeting all the people. Like, I'm a people person, so I love talking to people and meeting people and complimenting people on what they do and the things that they like and so on. And it was difficult, but now after 3 years, I'm sort of into it again, and it's like I said, I was going to retire, and three years later, I'm sort of back into it with the artists and stuff like that. So,
what would be some of your advice for artists in Winnipeg?
Well, to never give up. Anything is possible, and also I wish them all the best, because Winnipeg is a real art community. I think it's one of the largest art communities in the country for a city, and they're amazing. One of the artist that I knew for 45 years is Tony Tascona. He was a good friend, and I did all this framing for 45 years. And then Winston Leathers was another one, and so on, all the way down. I knew all the oldies and the goodies, and Ivan Hare was another one too. If I didn't have shows for them, I looked after all their framing for all these years. So.
It sounds like you brought a lot of joy to the artists, to the people that you were framing their art, buying art, and now to these nurses. So you're continuing that family tradition. The best to you as you continue your treatment with dialysis and continue spreading that joy. It sounds like you've got a lot of artists that are backing you up on this as well.
Yeah, one more quick thing for the dialysis. It's given me an abundance of energy. I go to the gym 4 days a week. I swim 3 days a week, and it just keeps me going and going and going.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day.
You as well. Former gallery owner Jeff Gazenzer giving back to the nurses at Seven Oaks Hospital.
I'm Michelle McDougall, your local reporter for CBC Manitoba in Brandon. You're listening to CBC Radio 1.
22 minutes after 6 o'clock in this week's Statistics Canada, coming out with data on police-reported crimes across Canada. Now, crime rates and severity were down across most of the country last year, with some exceptions. Here with more is Tandeep Sidhu, an assistant professor of criminology at the University of Manitoba, and he joins us now. Good morning. Thank you for doing this.
Good morning. Anytime.
What was your biggest takeaway from this year's police-reported crime data?
Yeah, I think one of the big takeaways is this idea that, and the adage to explain this is that rather than looking at the trees, we should look at the forest more broadly. And what we mean by that when it comes to police-reported crime overall, when we look at this from a historical lens, or when we look at this from a 30 to 40-year period, there's less crime now than there was 30 or 40 years ago, based on the rates from Statistics Canada. But oftentimes what we then see is this disconnect between what the public feels about crime and crime control versus what the police-reported statistics say.
And it's interesting that only two parts of the country crime was up, and people might be surprised. I think you get in your silo and you think, oh, it's the worst where I am, my city, my town, my municipality. Be it in this case, Statistics Canada says it's New Brunswick and Nunavut. What does the data tell us about those places?
Yeah, so I think one of the important things to consider when we look at the data from Nunavut and New Brunswick is that there's no single explanation for why crime may increase or decrease in any municipality or any locality or any province for that matter. So when we're engaging with these crime statistics, it's very important to pay attention to specific local nuances. And what we mean by that is this. Oftentimes there's a perception that crime, there's more crime, quote unquote, in the city or in the urban zones as opposed to rural communities. The inverse is actually true. So we know from Statistics Canada data that crime rates are generally higher in rural communities. And then within rural communities, there's a northern-southern divide. Usually the further north you get, the more severe crime gets with respect to the rates reported by Statistics Canada.
What types of crimes are we seeing trend downwards?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that's been highlighted in the media and highlighted by Statistics Canada is a decrease in break and enters. And that's part of a broader 30-year period. And this is where that idea comes back that we engage with this from its broader historical context rather than a year-over-year comparison. Some of what's largely driving the break and enters statistics down is likely more restrictive policing and more restrictive regulations around pawn shops. So it makes it harder for people to be able to sell anything that's been stolen. In that same capacity as well, this is a little bit more contentious and a little bit more debated in the literature, but the proliferation of home security systems, but also property design as well, may be contributing towards a reduction in break and enters, potentially displacing that offense to something else. What we're seeing with respect to property crimes is that shoplifting offenses have been increasing, and an explanation for that, there's two explanations for that. One is this is just an individual manifestation of broader economic pressures in society, but another explanation of that is that grocery stores and dollar stores, for example, are more likely to have private security guards on hand now. And when private security guards make an arrest of somebody for shoplifting, they have to turn that person over to the police. So as a result of increased enforcement in the private sector, we're likely seeing an increase in total number of shoplifting offenses.
Now, data's only as good as what's reported. And so obviously, Statistics Canada is crunching those numbers of what's been reported to police. So what's the limitations from your perch in doing that?
Yeah, so one of the limitations with using police reported data as your only metric for a crime is we run into something in criminology that we refer to as the dark figure of crime, those crimes that are unreported or undetected or underreported. So this is particularly most pronounced when it comes to things like intimate partner violence, when it comes to sexual offenses, and when it comes to sexual assault. These are the most underreported crimes that we typically see. So this is where there's a much greater emphasis on self-report surveys and victimization surveys in addition to police reported data as well, because there sometimes is a disconnect between what the police report versus what happens, and there's various reasons for why people do not report crimes.
Angus Reid did some polling, and it's found while it's still less than a quarter of Canadians, the number of people who choose crime as their top issue is increasing over the last 5 years. Why do you think we're seeing such a disconnect between what's reported in terms of crime rates and people's feelings or perceptions of safety?
Absolutely. I think one of the key drivers of this disconnect is the proliferation of social media, more specifically things like TikTok and Instagram. And these algorithmic applications create a consistent loop of content that we engage with. So, for example, if somebody is more apt or more likely to engage with crime or crime control related content on these applications, that's what they're going to consistently be provided or given to consume. And I think there's a much broader issue that stems from this as it relates to crime as a political issue and also crime as a financial issue. So, for example, many of these influencers on social media and many of these social media sites, they financially benefit from public panic about crime. It's fundamentally a political issue, and it's certainly something that's also being driven by political rhetoric, but also police messaging as well. Crime is something that certainly can win or lose an election, but at the same time, when it comes to police, a healthy fear of crime amongst the public is, in a way, good for police to be able to secure more resources and more political support for their mission. So when we engage with this disconnect, it's very important to critically engage with what we are hearing from political leaders, what we're hearing from police services, but at the same time, it's also very important to critically engage with what we're seeing on social media as well.
About a minute remaining. We've seen new legislation targeting at stopping crime from the Liberal government, including new restrictions on bail and mandatory minimum sentences. Why do you think we're seeing these laws now as crime appears to be going down?
One rather quick explanation is that it's a byproduct of the politically charged nature of discussions pertaining to crime and crime control, and much of this is being driven by public perceptions of crime. So in this capacity, it's a political maneuver by the state to implement quote-unquote tough on crime policies on the premise that it reduces some of the political pressure on, for example, in this case, the federal Liberal Party.
Well, we'll still continue to consume this data in the meantime, and appreciate you drilling into some of that for us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anytime.
Tandeep Sidhu is an assistant professor of criminology from the University of Manitoba. Still to come on Information Radio, as you're going to hear in the news, the body of a second brother who drowned at Nunavik Lake has been found. We will hear some extended audio from the co-owner of Nunavik Lodge about how everyone is coping after the second discovery and recovery has been made. And Canada is facing new tariff threats from the United States, with the Prime Minister promising to do whatever it takes to protect workers and businesses. We'll hear more about Ottawa's strategy on the table in the negotiations. Of course, we'll take a look at your business news as well. It is a yellow heat warning for the city of Winnipeg right now. We're sitting at 18 degrees at Portage and Spence. Your CBC News starts now.
This is CBC News. At 6:30, we're at 18 degrees with a heat warning and mostly clear skies in downtown Winnipeg. Good morning. I'm Matt Humphrey. The search is over for the bodies of two young boys who drowned in Whiteshell Provincial Park. The body of 13-year-old Aaron O. Ramirez was recovered last night from Nunavik Lake at 7:45. His 10-year-old brother Maximo had been found 24 hours earlier. The two boys had been presumed drowned after falling into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday. Allison Baker Thiessen is the owner of Nunavik Lodge, where the boys' parents have been staying. She says amongst their grief, they also feel relief their boys have been found.
We got the community together. We got all the emergency teams together. We had countless hours of people helping out and doing wellness checks and all the support in so many different angles.
David Harper is with Turtle Island Aquatic Response. Some of his crew came from Manitoba's Island Lake region to help.
We're from northern Manitoba, so we experience these kind of troubles, incidents up there, so we know how important it is for the family, especially for closure.
These are the third and fourth drownings in the Sturgeon Falls area since 2023. The province's environment minister says he's expecting to see a site assessment report in the coming days to see what type of safety improvements need to be made. The families of several patients evacuated from Dauphin Regional Hospital are growing frustrated at the distance between them and their loved ones. The hospital was closed at the beginning of the month due to extensive flooding damage in the basement. Prairie Mountain Health says they're likely to have service disruptions for months. Kimberly Shanowski's father was moved to a medical facility roughly 200 kilometers away. She's hoping for something to be done quicker.
It would be nice to have something, or to hear of something getting set up for people, because it is kind of scary to not have access to a hospital.
Shanowski says she hasn't been told how long her father will be at the health facility in Treeherne, though she hopes it's not much longer. Voters from the PAW hope a new MLA will mean a fresh start fixing local issues. NDP candidate Jennifer Flett was elected Tuesday with nearly 75% of the vote. Local leaders in the PAW say there are several areas where they'd like to see provincial help, including health care. The hospital has had issues with safety and staffing. A new clinic is coming, but Deputy Mayor Carrie Atkinson hopes the province can bump up the opening date.
We have been told that we are going to have a healthcare clinic that'll be built in 2030, and we have let them know that, 2030 is too long. We need to be able to try and escalate that date the best that's possible for our community members.
The clinic, once it opens, will be named after late MLA Amanda Laughlin. The city of Steinbach has been waiting almost 3 years for a public visit from Manitoba's premier. Wab Kinew attended one closed-door meeting in 2024, part of his private listening tour with healthcare workers, but he hasn't attended any public events or met with residents in Manitoba's third-largest city. Kelvin Gertzen is the PC MLA for Steinbach. He says Kinew gets a pass for skipping Steinbach in his first year as premier because he was getting acquainted with the new role.
Second year that he didn't appear, I would say, was curious, being in the third largest city in Manitoba. Now there's the third year, I would say it's concerning.
Canoe says he's planning to visit Steinbach later this year to head to the next Pride parade, and he wants Gertsen to join him. Gertsen has yet to attend a Pride event. U.S. trading partners are reacting to the latest wave of tariffs being imposed by the Trump administration. Effective today, more than 60 trading partners are being hit with levies of up to 12.5%. The U.S. claims it's focused on nations that benefit from goods made with forced labor, and many of those being targeted say the tariffs are unwarranted. Don Farrell is Australia's trade minister.
We do not believe it was justified. We believe that amongst all of the countries in the world, Australia does take the issue of slavery, modern slavery, seriously, and will continue to do that.
Farrell says he will keep lobbying Washington to remove all tariffs on Australian goods. Canada's response has been less forceful. A statement from Dominic LeBlanc, the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, says the tariffs are not unexpected. LeBlanc says Canada takes a tough stance on forced labor, adding that Ottawa will constructively engage with Washington on the matter. And that is your CBC News from Winnipeg. For news anytime, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. Your next local news is at 7:30.
All right, time to grab a coffee.
Mouthful of marbles there.
There you go. All right, Matt Humphrey
soon.
at your CBC News desk this morning. Abby Adeyemi has been keeping tabs on your forecast. Yellow heat warning here. Other warnings for smoke in the north.
It's just all over the place, Julie. We have smoke, we have heat, we have humidity, we have even thunderstorms, and we have rain. But looking at conditions in the south, be prepared for a very hot and humid day with heat warnings covering much of the region. We're talking about humidex values pushing close to 40 degrees, while farther north we're talking about the air quality warnings that still remains in effect around the Par Flin Flon towards Tuduli Lake this morning, where the wildfire smoke is still keeping the air hazy and of course reducing visibility in that part of the province. Here in the city, we're starting the day near 19 degrees, mostly clear skies. We do have a good chance of showers and maybe some thunderstorms this morning, and also in the afternoon period, expect this a risk of thunderstorms to still hang back late into the afternoon period. You will notice some local smoke on and off in the city this afternoon. We're warming up to 30 degrees. The humidex in the city is going to be feeling like 38, and of course the index is on the very high side of 8, so you need to take it easy out there today before we east about 20 tonight. Across the Pembina Valley region, communities from Morris towards the U.S. border, you're waking up to temperatures around 20 degrees also. Sunshine already cracking through, a little smoke in the air. It's going to be a hot afternoon. You're warming up to 31 in that part of the province. Then we move over to the Westman region. Brandon, you are starting the day also around 20 degrees. Early thunderstorms you're noticing in that part of the province. It's going to improve as you get into the morning. We'll see your temperature climb to 30. In the Parkland region, 20 also. There are cloudy skies. We saw some rain earlier. There's still more chance of thunderstorms before you reach your high of 30 today by the afternoon period. Now, across the Interlake region, Gimli is starting the day at 18 degrees. Some sunny conditions already there. You're warming to a humid high of 30 with some local smoke present in that part of the province. Then we cross over into the central region. The pie is sitting at 18. Flim Flim, we're seeing 18 there also. A mixed sky you have there before you warm up to 22 degrees. Norway House is at 19, warming to 26. There's a chance of thunderstorms later for you. And Thompson, 14 with some misty conditions. You warm to 17 by the afternoon period. Lynn Lake is at 13 right now. Light rain falling there. You warm to 17. We still have that air quality warning present there. While for the Gillam area, we're looking at 12 degrees with light rain climbing to 15. Tuduli is at 9 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with some smoke in the air. You get to 17. Then farther north, we're looking at Churchill and nearby, starting the day at 10. Mostly cloudy skies there. You warm only to 12 today. So the south is going to be dealing with the heat, while the north continues to contend with the smoke in the air. Before Winnipeg, we're starting the day close to 19 degrees. We get to 30, but the actual feeling outside when you're out there is going to be near 40.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby Adeyemi is going to deal with all of that for us. And spoiler alert, it's going to last for a few days. So, yes, I know.
I have a wedding on Saturday. Outside, it's going to be a hot one. I might melt.
You need one of those fans that go around your neck.
Oh, yeah, like one of those, like a portable kind
That's
of fan.
right.
Yeah, I've seen people wearing them. I kind of get a little jealous sometimes.
Like for a wedding, maybe you could, I don't know, you could jazz it up.
Yeah, maybe I'd get a pink one or something. I'd need to get a fan that would match my outfit.
There you go.
I think that's the thinking that I need to have.
Yeah,
with that.
probably. Is it outside?
It is outside. Yeah, it's outside and out in Brandon. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a scorcher. It's going to be a little bit of a scorcher. So I got to be prepared for that there. But it should still be fun despite the heat. We'll make the best of it.
Absolutely.
I might come back like half melted though on Monday, but that's okay.
I feel for those that don't have air conditioning. This is going to be a very hot weekend.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I agree. But so far, you know what is hot as well is your commute.
Yes.
In a good way, though, because the commuter line's been very quiet so far this morning. I haven't heard about any major incidents or backups, which is good news for folks out there on the roads so far. But if that does change, let me know. You can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number's 204-788-3093.
Time now for your Business Digest. Let's check in with Megan Reed.
Good morning. Brent crude, the international benchmark, went up 6% yesterday, surpassing the $100 U.S. a barrel mark in early trading. West Texas Intermediate, the North American benchmark, closed at around $92 U.S. a barrel, after investors were rattled by repeated threats to oil shipments in the Red Sea by Houthi rebels, marking the first ship attacks beyond the Strait of Hormuz since the start of the war in Iran. Martin Peltier, a portfolio manager at Trivest Wealth Council in Calgary, says that the bump in oil is a double-edged sword for Canadians.
These commodities are priced in U.S. dollars. So if you have a $100 oil price, it's in U.S. dollars, and it's U.S. dollars up 10% against your currency, then it's that much more expensive. And that's something that I think we really need to keep a closer eye on. For Canada, the benefit is that oil companies get paid in U.S. dollars, so that's a natural hedge for their financials and their overall well-being. However, for Canadians, a lower Canadian dollar is not a good scenario because now all of a sudden our food costs and other things go higher.
North American stock markets also had a bit of a rough ride in the last session, with the TSX, the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all closing in negative territory. Speaking of negative, Alphabet had a no-good, very bad Thursday. In addition to seeing its share price fall more than 6%, the search giant got its hand slapped hard. It was fined $1.4 billion Canadian for flouting European Union rules aimed at reining in the reach of big tech, after it was found to be favoring its own apps and services ahead of rivals. It's the first major action against Alphabet under the EU's Digital Markets Act. The Commission says Google, quote, broke digital and antitrust regulations by using its search engine to push customers towards its own services, unquote. Alphabet now has 60 days to change things up or challenge the decision by taking the Commission to court. And finally, keeping with tech, the Light flip phone just launched, joining a growing field of so-called dumb devices. For $300, it acts as a traditional phone, can send and receive text messages, has GPS, an alarm clock, and a calendar. In addition, it's sold at a fraction of the price of a smartphone. For those not familiar, dumb phones are seen as the antithesis of smart devices, the major attraction being it can't connect to the internet, cutting screen time and increasing security. We're talking no apps, no doom scrolling, no notifications, and no more hours wasted looking at your phone instead of living your life. Shruti Shekhar is the editor-in-chief of Android Central, an online tech publication.
It's 100% a better way for teenagers to still feel connected and still have that option of like talking on the phone with their friends and texting their friends, but also staying connected with their parents. But it is so much safer because they're less influenced, they're less doom scrolling, there's less screen time. It's just way better, but I think it's not limited to teenagers. I mean, like, I know a lot of adults that are like, I want to go back to the days where I didn't have a smartphone.
I remember those days. Shruti believes the concept of digital detoxing coupled with increased privacy is going to push dumb phones to the next level. For CBC Radio, I'm Megan Reed.
Thanks, Megan. If you'd like to hear it again, head to CBC Listen app. Look for Biz Digest. For more business news, check out our website, cbc.ca/business. 17 minutes now before 7 o'clock, and the search is over after the body of a second brother who drowned at Nudimick Lake has now been recovered. After 6 days of searching, the body of 13-year-old Aaron O. Ramirez was found. He jumped into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday after his 10-year-old brother Maximo slipped and fell in. Allison Baker-Thiessen is the co-owner of Nudimick Lodge, where the family has been staying, and she spoke with the CBC's Mike Arsenault.
Definitely been a challenging week for everybody. Yesterday, there was a little bit of sigh of relief when we found Maximo at 7:30, and it was a fight, and everybody was fighting. And yesterday, everybody said, today's the day. And today, when we came back, after fighting right until 10:30 at night, trying to find Aaron. Today, everybody said today is the day, and the godmother of Heidi said, just as I kind of walked away from dropping off lunch today, she says 7:30 today, and that's exactly the same time Maximo was found yesterday, and today at 7:30, the exact same time and the exact same place, his brother was recovered. Obviously, the family is very much grieving right now. They're so happy that they found him, but they are in a lot of pain, and this is going to be a very challenging time for them and for a long time coming. So I don't want to really bombard them with, who was in the boat and all that information, but it definitely was a family on board with a community member. Our prayers and answers were answered. We got the community together. We got all the emergency teams together. We had countless hours of people helping out and doing wellness checks and all the support in so many different angles. Again, the Kevin Howie Foundation doing check-ins all the time, seeing if we needed anything. The RCMP doing check-ins, with myself and my husband, because we kind of were lead hands to, try to organize a lot. There's a big shout out to Nicole, also known as Nikki, to the family. She is very close. She put a very big shout out to the Mexican community and got a whole bunch of other people out here. One day I was in the city and I couldn't be here, and Nikki took my lead and everything I was doing and helped do a lot while I was not here. So yeah, without all these people standing beside us, we couldn't do anything.
What's it look like there now? Like, are people starting to kind of file out, or is everybody still kind of, maybe there's a lot of shock going on? So can you kind of tell me what it's like there now?
Yeah, so it's pretty quiet here now. I'm standing here on the beach giving some time to the family and, the RCMP. We are waiting for the body to be picked up. And then family will come back to the lodge and grab their stuff. But we want to give them time to grieve and heal a little bit and, follow the process and get through this. We think everything from emergency measures to media to the North Whiteshell Business Association to the Whiteshell Cottagers Association to Manitoba Parks to the conservation to the park patrols to absolutely every single community member and family member that has stood by everybody here today to have our prayers answered.
Allison Baker-Thiessen is one of the owners of Nudimick Lodge in conversation with the CBC's Mike Arsenault. Head to cbc.ca/Manitoba for our full coverage on the story. About 13 minutes now before 7 o'clock, you're listening to Information Radio, CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM. St. John's Tim Baker is known for his heartfelt songwriting and warm acoustic sound. This is Tim Baker with Songbirds.
Like a fool in a foolish coat, trying to be cool, but just being cold. I have seen the saddest thing, not you crying, but that you're hiding it from me. No, be free, just be as you like, and sing like a bird, and soar and sing in flight. No, be free, but connected to the sky, and sing like a bird, soar and sing in flight. Singing like dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die. Like dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die, die-die. I saw you shrink back into your sleep. I saw you shrink until you disappeared from me. What do you hide from? And what hides from us? And what kind of colors have we covered up and lost? No, be free, just be as you like, dancing like a bird to the oncoming light. No, be free, but connected to the sky, dancing like a bird, and soar and sing in flight. Singing like dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die. Like dee-dee-die, die-die, dee-dee-die, die-die.
Tim Baker with Songbirds, 89.3 FM, 990 AM. 10 minutes now before 7 o'clock, and Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will, quote, do whatever it takes, end quote, to defend its economy, and is promising a united approach to the latest tariff threats from Washington. Meanwhile, some premiers are calling for a tougher response as pressure tactics from south of the border ramp up. The latest move came yesterday with the U.S. launching a new tariff on Canada, the EU, and several other countries over claims of forced labor. For more, we're joined by Jonathan Malloy, a political science professor at Carleton University. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
There's been a lot of developments as they continue to roll out from Washington. So what do you think Canada's strategy should be when it comes to dealing with the U.S. right now?
Well, I think our ultimate strategy has to be to keep focusing on the big picture. The Trump administration constantly throws new things at us, new tariffs, new complaints. We've slowly learned to not be distracted by those. That's the whole point. Trump loves to distract, to disrupt. And so I think we're learning to not be disrupted, immediately start reacting to everything they do. Instead, we focus on the big picture, in this case, the trade negotiations with the U.S., and do our best to not be obsessed with just the latest developments, even though they are quite concerning.
Some of the premiers say Canada shouldn't hold back. What could a more aggressive approach actually look like?
Well, we've got a limited set of options. We've tried counter tariffs in the past, particularly under the Trudeau government. We've tried things like Doug Ford's advertising campaign in the U.S. Of commercials that really upset the Trump administration. We could move to threatening to reduce our oil imports or oil exports to the U.S. or potash, for example. That's something Doug Ford did suggest this week. We could we could bring in other things such as, we cancel our order F-35 fighter jets with the U.S., things like that there. So there are options, but they're ones either that we've tried with somewhat limited effect or they're pretty radical and risky.
Is there a risk that hitting back harder could hurt Canada as much as it does the U.S.?
Exactly. I think that if we found that when we do hit back with the U.S., it does not necessarily lead to a change in behavior. That's the whole point in trade negotiations. Normally, you escalate, you do things to get the other side to back down, and that has happened with the Americans, but often it doesn't. They often blow things out of proportion. They get very offended when we push back, even though they don't apologize for all the provocations that made us push back in the first place. And things, for example, like if we start messing with oil exports and so on, well, they control the pipelines and stuff. They could start denying us access to the American market at all. So, really anything kind of has a lot of risk to it. And in the end, we have to, if we're going to push back, it has to be with a very clear goal of changing behavior. We can't just push back because we're mad.
Why is President Trump pushing ahead with these tariffs now? Is it truly mainly about trade, or is there political strategy at play here?
Well, with Donald Trump, you never have any idea what the actual strategy is in his head, except that we do know, disruption is always his goal. It's often his only goal is really to disrupt and throw off his opponents. And so he's doing that with these new tariffs. He's trying to throw us off there. And he's peculiarly obsessed with tariffs. He seems to think tariffs are the solution to everything and so on. So, having said that, this is kind of consistent with how Trump does business. Is he tries to throw off opponents? He's constantly blaming other countries for America's problems, which is how he's justifying these latest tariffs there and so on. And that probably does help him politically in the U.S. with his base, with trying to always blame other countries for America's problems, trying to throw off his opponents, and also trying to distract from his own failures as a president.
So how much does the U.S. politics, including the midterms, factor into all of this?
Well, it's definitely a factor, although exactly how is hard to say. As I said, Trump certainly politically wants to blame other countries for his own problems, for his own economic failures. The American economy is not doing as well as he promised, in part because of things like the Iran war. So I think certainly in the run-up to the midterms, he wants to make sure that the voters blame others and don't blame the Republicans for problems there. And I think also when you look at other American politicians, all the ones that are up for re-election in November, particularly in border states, some of them are quite aware of Canadian trade issues. Some are sympathetic to Canadian trade issues. But how they're going to respond in the midterms could go either way. They might actually pick up some of Trump's rhetoric because blaming other countries seems to work with American voters and stuff there. So in short, the midterms are definitely a factor, but exactly how it's hard to say. We're kind of speculating in different directions here.
Less than a minute remaining. If the trade negotiations don't produce a breakthrough, what options does Canada realistically have left?
Well, unfortunately, we don't really have a lot. The Canadian economy is so integrated with the American economy that we really do need some sort of trade agreement. We're not going to get one as good. We didn't really like the last one we signed in 2018. The new one is going to be even more limited. But I think we need something and so on. And so as a result, we're kind of stuck in this course of action. We can retaliate. Sometimes that does seem to get the Americans to back down a bit. We know that Trump bluffs all the time. And we can try and call those bluffs there. But in terms of sort of the overall course of action, we're kind of stuck on the one we have, unless we don't want to trade deal with the Americans at all, which could be absolutely devastating to the Canadian economy. So we could walk away, but that could be quite devastating. I call that the nuclear option.
Lots more still to come on this, and no doubt we'll talk again. Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you.
Jonathan Malloy is a political science professor at Carleton University. Well, coming up, some residents are calling on the city of Winnipeg to do more after a series of police raids, including human trafficking arrests at a rental home in Charleswood. We'll hear from one group about what more it thinks can be done to address the issues surrounding human trafficking in short-term rentals. It is 18 degrees in downtown Winnipeg. And remember, if you're seeing something in traffic, certainly give us a call on the commuter line. Let's check in for headlines with Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. With the provincial by-election done and a new MLA elected, leaders in the PAW hope they'll see progress on local issues. The PAW has been NDP territory for almost 60 years. years, but a new person in the seat means new optimism for some. The deputy mayor says areas of interest include healthcare and safety. The hospital needs improvement, and the Northern Health Region has the highest rate of hospitalizations and deaths related to substance use of anywhere in the province. We'll hear more after World Report.
All right, Matt Humphrey. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
Ever ridden a bike?
Oh, that was that one time.
That one time?
Yeah.
How about doing 3,000 kilometers?
Oh, jeez. Nice segue. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a pair of cyclists join us in the studio next half hour. They've done 3,000K.
Wowzers.
We'll find out why and share some of their stories behind that. Yeah, I did 30K in one day, and it might as well have been 3,000. But I do.
That's really good.
Yeah, I do enjoy getting on the bike. These Canadian friends are doing their cycle right across this country to raise awareness for men's mental health. So we'll certainly hear about how their ride is going and how they were inspired by their own personal struggles. So we'll certainly look forward to sharing their stories. We'll also speak with Manitoba's Minister of Justice, Matt Wiebe, as we continue that series on fatal police shootings where mental health is a consideration. Stay with us. You're listening to Information Radio. I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa. World Report is next.
On the Current.
I'm Rebecca Zanbergen. Canada's cities are filled with rivers and lakes, but often people are hesitant to swim in them, worried about how clean the water is or a lack of infrastructure.
Lake Ontario used to be very polluted. You would not want to swim in it at all. That's really changed a lot.
The push to reclaim swim spots in the city coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Pardon me. Good morning. I'm John Northcott. The U.S. has imposed new tariffs on more than 60 of its trading partners. That includes Canada. The tariffs of between 10 and 12.5% are based on the Trump administration's claim that its economic partners have failed to tackle forced labor. The CBC's Marina von Stackelberg joins me from Ottawa. Marina, what's been the reaction from Canadian officials?
Well, Canada's minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, Dominic LeBlanc, says the latest tariff is not unexpected since the Americans signaled they would find a way to replace their Section 122 tariffs that were set to expire today. In a statement, LeBlanc says Canada has one of the most robust frameworks to deal with forced labor. He points out while most countries are being hit with a 12.5% tariff rate, Canada is part of a small number of countries being tariffed at a lower rate of 10%. And there are exemptions for many Canadian goods, including those that comply with the CUSMA trade agreement. LeBlanc says Canada will continue to engage constructively with the U.S. on this and other outstanding issues over the coming weeks.
Well, Marina, what are we watching for next?
Well, speaking of coming weeks, Canada now has less than 4 of them to stop the U.S. from hitting this country with 50% tariffs. The Prime Minister and the U.S. President have agreed to intensify talks. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, speaking yesterday on Power and Politics, says her sense is things are different this time because this latest tariff threat is hitting way more Canadian goods.
You know, it's a lot more painful, I think.
Right.
I mean, I suppose he could have had it come into effect immediately. The fact that he didn't suggests to me that he wants to force us to the table. And if you look at what was being talked about last year, selling substantially more oil to the United States, having a uranium deal, selling critical minerals, those are the kind of things that I think if we can put those on the table, we might end up getting to a very productive trade agreement.
And you know, John, the premiers do have different ideas on how Canada should negotiate. Smith says Canada should make this a case for the U.S. that this is a win-win. She says she doesn't think it's a good idea to go into a negotiation promising to punch someone in the nose.
CBC's Marina von Stackelberg in Ottawa. Thanks, Marina.
You're welcome.
The governments of Canada and Ecuador are signing a free trade deal in Ottawa today. A spokesperson for the International Trade Minister says a signing ceremony is taking place, but there are no public events scheduled. Several Canadian organizations have pushed back against free trade talks with Ecuador and warned that a deal will threaten the environment and worsen a human rights crisis. The deal will see Ecuador effectively remove tariffs from all Canadian imports. After months of political drama, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is set to open. Dignitaries will be attending the official ceremony today. The bridge is being viewed as a major milestone in Canada-U.S. trade. But as the CBC's Nisha Patel tells us, today's celebration will not be a joint one.
And there's lots of excitement on both sides of the border.
Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkin says it's been a long time coming. The Gordie Howe Bridge that will connect his Ontario city to Detroit, Michigan, is about to open after more than 7 years of construction that cost $6.4 billion. Canadian officials will celebrate the occasion today, though escalating trade tensions prompted them to back out of a joint ribbon cutting with Americans.
We're caught in this dramatic event with President Trump, but this bridge is going to serve the needs of our two countries for many, many generations to come.
The project has been plagued by opposition from the billionaire owners of the competing Ambassador Bridge, as well as demands by Donald Trump to renegotiate the original deal. Canada, which funded the bridge alone, has now inked a separate agreement to share with the U.S. net revenues from tolls after operating costs for the first 15 years. President of the Canadian Trucking Alliance, Stephen Laskowski, says it's worth it.
It's a beacon for investment. It's a beacon for more efficiency.
Billions of dollars in goods pass back and forth over the Ontario-Michigan border every year. The new crossing opens to commercial traffic on Monday and will cut wait times for truckers, saving businesses time and money.
You're reducing your cost, you're becoming more productive, which allows you to reinvest into your fleets.
A much-needed boost for Canadian companies as they navigate an uncertain economy. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Government ministers in India say they'll meet with the leaders of a massive student protest today. The meeting comes after an educator, Sonam Wanchuk, ended his 26-day hunger strike.
विभिन्न राजनीतिक दलों के लगभग 65
Wanchuk agreed to end his fast after the ruling party assured him that the concerns of the protesting students will be addressed in Parliament. The protests were triggered after a medical entrance exam paper leaked. Roughly 2 million students were forced to retake the exam. Abhijit Dipka is one of the student leaders of the movement, and he insists that despite the talks, India's education minister must go.
So there is only one solution to this. Dharmendra Pradhan must resign.
The two sides held a preliminary round of talks on Monday. The government has agreed to consider the demands from protesters for education reform. Dipka says in the meantime, the protests will continue. Oil prices back up, driven by the growing conflict in the Middle East. Brent crude hit $100 US a barrel yesterday, all of which has the industry projecting significant profits. But as David Thurton reports, environmental groups are raising questions about Ottawa's ongoing support and subsidies.
In particular, we're seeing a very worrying pattern with this government.
Nicole Dusick is with the Institute for Sustainable Development. She says she's been watching as the current government rolls back another climate policy. She says the government is giving companies money through the carbon capture tax credit to help them pump out hard-to-reach oil.
In our view, this is clearly a subsidy and a subsidy that should be phased out.
In 2023, the Trudeau government vowed to end what it called inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. One group has been keeping tabs on how much money still flows from government coffers to the oil and gas companies. Environmental Defense's Julia Levin estimates $10 billion were spent last year. Halfway through 2026, she says that figure stands at $4 billion.
The government continues to put a huge amount of public money, of our money, into projects that are fueling the climate crisis.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Canada's finance minister suggests the current government remains committed to phasing out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, noting Canada is the lone country in the world to release a rigorous analytical guide. The statement did not address ongoing public funding allocated to major energy firms, which have posted strong profits. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Firefighters rushed to put out the flames of a wildfire burning just west of Spain's capital, Madrid. The government has now declared a state of emergency. More than 10,000 people have been forced to leave as fires burn through several villages in the country's central region. Wildfires also burning through parts of France and Italy. France has ordered the total evacuation of the Cap Ferrat Peninsula, a major tourist destination. Paris is also seeking emergency assistance from the European Union. Today marks 1 month since twin earthquakes rocked Venezuela. The tremors left tens of thousands of people dead, injured, or missing. Hundreds of homes and buildings were destroyed, and as Jorge Barrera reports, Venezuela now faces the task of rebuilding its infrastructure and its democracy at the same time.
It's a miracle we are alive, says Ingrid Ochoa, showing the wrecked and warped interior of her apartment in a 4-story building in the coastal state of La Guaira, Venezuela, where she lived with her husband, son, brother, and niece. She says they now sleep in a tent along a street and doesn't know what her future holds. The trajectory of Venezuela's future has twice been dramatically altered in 6 months. First with the U.S. operation to snatch former President Nicolas Maduro, and now by the earthquake, says Luis Angarita, political scientist with Venezuela's Central University. The country needs to physically rebuild from a calamity that caused over $19 billion in damage and reconstruct its democracy at the same time, he says. That's the outstanding task, he says, to give citizens the ability to not only deal with this situation, but also build the country's future prosperity.
The U.S. has essentially assumed the status of the imperial power with a protectorate.
Former U.S. Ambassador Charles Shapiro says the U.S. will try to shape Venezuela's future.
And Venezuela needs to be reconstructed. And if there's a country that needs nation building, I find it unlikely anybody else is going to get involved in Venezuela except the United States.
But for Venezuelans like Ingrid Ochoa, life right now is about survival. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. Thousands of people in Canada and around the world follow World Report. You can too. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie Buckingham sitting in for Marcy Marcusa today. This is Information Radio on CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. It is Friday morning. We've made it almost to the weekend. No matter where you're headed, whether it's perhaps to the lake or to other parts of our province today, keep up to date with all of the traffic information here by calling our commuter lines. The temperature outside our studio right now sitting at about 18 degrees in Winnipeg. We are under a yellow advisory, yellow warning, if you will, from Environment Canada for heat. So that is something to keep in mind, especially for the next probably week or so. Abby will have your full forecast in just a minute. And still to come, residents are calling on the city of Winnipeg to do more after a series of raids, including a human trafficking arrest at a rental home in Charleswood. We'll delve more into that story in just a moment. Let's head over to our news center now, and here's Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. Manitoba Mounties say the body of Aaron O. Ramirez has been recovered from Nunavik Lake. The 13-year-old had jumped into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday after his little brother Maximo slipped on some rocks and fell in. After days of searching, Aaron was found at 7:45 last night, we're told. Maximo's body had been found the day before. A fleet of boats made up of volunteers and emergency workers worked through the week trying to find them. At the bottom of the hour, we'll hear how the family is doing. And in other news, the MLA of Steinbach is questioning why the Premier has yet to make a public visit to Manitoba's third largest city. The MLA such a visit would be meaningful. In almost 3 years of governing, Canoe has yet to meet constituents there. Canoe has said he plans to visit later this year to attend Steinbach's Pride Parade. We'll hear more at 7:30.
All right, look forward to it. Thank you, Matt.
Soon.
Matt Humphrey at your news desk. As promised, Abby is here to check our weather forecast, and it is a scorcher.
Yeah, it's going to be a scorcher today. We're looking at a very hot and humid day across southern Manitoba. We're talking about warnings already covering regions in the Red River Valley region, stretching all the way to the Interlake this morning, with humidity pushing into the 40s. While in the northern part of the province, the air quality warnings still remain in effect due to the wildfire smoke impacting that region. So we're still noticing hazy air condition in that part of the province, and of course, reduced visibility. But for Winnipeg right now, we're getting close to that 20 degrees mark. It's a bit of, we're seeing a mix of cloudy conditions out there. There's a good chance of showers and thunderstorms this morning. Then we'll notice some breezy conditions in the afternoon. Those thunderstorms are going to hang back into the afternoon period. You will notice some local smoke blow in by the afternoon period. Then we will be warming to that 30 degrees mark, which is even going to feel hotter, tracking 38 for the city today. And that's what we're tracking for most regions in the south today.
Okay, we'll be prepared for it. As we mentioned, hot, hazy, humid, and then the fourth H would be hydrate. So keep that in mind. Sierra Sanders is here now, our show's director, and has also been watching the commute and the commuter line, I think, pretty quiet.
It's been very quiet, Julie, so not much to watch there on the commute to this morning, which I guess is a good sign. It means your commute out there is running pretty smooth. But if that does change and there's a new situation that pops up or you're seeing some backup somewhere, I would love to hear about it wherever you are in the province, whether you are here in the city in Winnipeg or anywhere else out there. Give me a call on that CBC commuter line. That number's 204-788-3093.
14 minutes after 7 o'clock, I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa. Neighbors in one Charleswood area, in one street in particular, want the city of Winnipeg to tighten its rules for short-term rental properties. Now, those calls being prompted by a series of police raids and even a human trafficking arrest in their neighborhood within the last 2 years. The city has implemented rules around properties rented on sites like Airbnb in 2024, requiring those owners to have a business license and to post information about human trafficking in their units. The Joy Smith Foundation, an organization for the prevention of human trafficking, says these are good changes. That's a good start, but there's more that governments can do. Janet Campbell is president of that organization and now joins me in studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
First, tell us why short-term rentals are so convenient for human traffickers.
Right. So in short-term rentals, there's no front desk. And oftentimes there's a lot more privacy with respect to who is coming and going from the units in comparison to hotels. These hotels have been for years implementing new measures to train their staff around indicators of these types of activities, but that doesn't exist necessarily with short-term rentals in the same way.
What do we know about how common it is to happen in these short-term rentals for them to be connected to human trafficking?
Well, I can tell you certainly from our experience it is happening because we do hear about these instances on a very regular basis. The statistics in this particular crime don't reflect what we see in a practical sense day to day. Number one, the crime itself is underreported. And then secondly, the crime itself is not measured in terms of what type of property was this particular response.
City officials, as you know, have brought in some implementation, and when you see the coverage of this story, police have been called multiple times to a home on Dedrick Bay. There was a sex trafficking arrest in 2024, but the city recently reviewed the property's short-term rental license, and it's been renewed, I believe, is the situation there, and that people in that area want something done. These are eyes on the street. What was your reaction to this story in particular and hearing what these residents have been doing?
Well, I think these are important conversations. And one of the things we talk about is how awareness and education really is our greatest weapon. So number one, you have a community that is paying attention and they're elevating their concerns. And I think, good on them for the steps that they're taking to also pursue this to say what's been happening in our community isn't okay. So I think, that's an important step. I think, the city of Winnipeg has taken some real leadership around human trafficking at a municipal level. And they're doing some really wonderful things. They too are trying to bring some awareness and some education, but there's always room to do a lot more.
So, what would you like the city to do? And it's currently reviewing the short-term rental bylaw. Tell us more about what you think could be done to prevent human trafficking, particularly in short-term rentals.
Well, there's a number of things. I think instances like this give us an opportunity to learn. I think the good news is with some of the measures that have been implemented, the city certainly is going to have more ability to go back and maybe inspect through the visibility they have with the licensing as to what happened. I do know that the city is providing educational material. Maybe there's opportunities to mandate that. But I think when you look at these situations, you have to question. We have the city things in place. And so do they have visibility to what the calls that the police were making to this residence, and how did that connect? So is that even a consideration in that renewal process? I think that's, something that can really be looked at and inspected. I think
You mean cross-referencing, seeing, okay, this property has a short-term rental license. Have there been complaints when it comes up for renewal, and just cross-referencing?
absolutely.
We don't know if that's happening.
I don't know if that
Right.
is happening. I think that's one question I would ask. Because it's one thing to have the rules, but you have to also have visibility, and you have to have capacity to really inspect and enforce that. So oftentimes what happens is you have these separate jurisdictions or authorities, and their mandates don't always connect in the way that these situations present themselves. So I think that's certainly one of the opportunities that we have. I think we can also take a look at how can we use the information that we now have visibility to more proactively inspect and take action, especially in the renewal process.
Is there any way to track what the city has been doing to see if it's effective in curbing human trafficking?
Well, again, it's a field where there's a lot of struggle with respect to the data, and I can tell you from the work that we do on the ground on a daily basis, when we do see reports, we find that they don't reflect. And again, there's lots of reasons why it's underreporting. It's the way in which the different authorities collect and aggregate the data so that you can have good visibility. But what I would add is that our organization has really started to proactively research these types of incidences and take these separate and disparate jurisdictions and authorities and really evaluate so that we can very proactively engage with community as well as authorities in affecting change, because this is something that we clearly don't want to see happening.
And we know this isn't happening in Winnipeg in isolation. So what about provinces or the federal government? Is there a role for those jurisdictions to play in the issue of human trafficking in short-term rentals?
Absolutely. So these crimes are very transient, and there are different geographies, there's different rules in place, and different levels of collaboration and information exchange that happen. And so, I think there's certainly lots of room right across the country. Even within our own province, there's opportunities between the province and the municipalities to sort of align the steps that they're taking together collaboratively on these issues so that they're not in a silo. And, again, when we take a look at this instance, I'm looking to understand if police actually had the visibility, and also did the short-term rental have the visibility to the fact that there was calls to these addresses. And those are some of the questions that we'll certainly be asking.
Thank you for asking some of those questions and for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Janet Campbell is president and CEO of the Joyce Smith Foundation.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
23 minutes now after 7 o'clock, and a pair of New Brunswickers are cycling across Canada for men's mental health.
We're both men that have struggled, and it's something that's not talked about a lot. I don't think I've ever really publicly spoken about my ADHD or having any mental struggles at all until this. So we're getting out there that not everyone's alone.
Thomas Clark and Val Duquesne are making their way through Winnipeg and will join us in the studio later. Okay. Canadian country artist Dean Brody brings us storytelling and small-town experiences into his music. Nothing better than a little drive-in music for you. Canadian Summer. This is CBC Radio 1.
Lakeside Motel at the corner gas. You asked for my help. Standing by your van, you're barefoot in a snapback and sipping on your ice cap. I changed your tire and you gave me your name. So I crashed your camp with some friends of mine, reached for your hand. The 1st of July, fireworks on the water. Yeah, we partied in the harbor, Blue Rodeo, our soundtrack that night. We were high on Canadian summer. Crushing cans, holding hands, nose Muskoka vines. You're blinking, it's over. Drifting campfire nights in the land of the northern sky. And ooh, out at the moon, when I stumbled in love with you, babe. All the magic we made that Canadian summer. Side by side in a town. Truck driving some downs, picnics and making out, off-road in a downpour, handprints on a fog door. Girl, I've never felt so alive, yeah. Canadian summer, making friends.
Dean Brody, CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM. As I hear that song, it makes me think about an email that I got from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers saying Saturday, September 12th, is the Banjo Bowl. So grab your tickets because we know that these CFL games here at Princess Auto Stadium sell out very quickly. Let's bring in Scott Regehr with a look at sports, and the Bombers will have second place in the West, Scott, to themselves. That is the big if they can beat the Stampeders tonight.
Yes, indeed. And the Stamps are coming in, Julie, on a 2-game losing streak, while the Bombers are headed in the other direction under Drew Brown. They've looked very good under Brown, who's filling in, of course, for Zach Collaros, who's got the neck injury. Brown 2-0 this season, flying high after overcoming a 17-point fourth-quarter deficit to beat his old club, the Ottawa Redblacks, the last time out. So what are we going to see tonight? I suspect, Julie, a pretty high-scoring affair. Calgary is the best in the business offensively behind Vernon Adams Jr., averaging almost 38 points a game, which is just outrageous. I don't know whether they can keep that going or not, but we'll see. The Bombers will try to stifle them tonight, and if they do, as you alluded to off the top, they would have second place after Saskatchewan lost last night, all to themselves, although Mike O'Shea says, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves either.
I would hope none from the players. It'd be foolish of me to say that there isn't a player that's trying to do some standings math. But for the most part, the vast majority of our guys do not look at that. They stay focused at the task at hand. All the games against Calgary seem to be very, very tight and down to the wire. And if you can spare a few minutes to look somewhere else than at your playbook, I think you're doing the team a disservice.
There you are, the coach, Mike O'Shea, getting ready for tonight's 7:30 kickoff. Be nice to see Brady Oliveira. He's only ran for better than 100 yards in one game so far this season. Like to see Brady get back on track, but other than that, I like the Bombers' chances.
I would just like them not to wait to the fourth quarter or overtime to get this done.
Enough drama. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Just let me enjoy my popcorn instead of throwing it. So let's head over to the Commonwealth Games where Canada has a chance at several medals today.
Yeah, especially in the pool, Julie. The country is expected to reach the podium in both the men's and women's 4x100 freestyle relays. The men are anchored by Josh Liendo, while Kylie Maas will do the same for the women. Maas, already with 9 career medals from Commonwealth Games past, says these games present a unique opportunity for younger athletes.
Getting to represent Canada at any level is exposure and experience to the international side of swimming, and just the challenges and what it takes to be at this level is a whole lot more than just like what happens in the pool. And being able to do that at a Commonwealth Games where it's like a little bit lower scale than an Olympic Games is an incredible experience. And I know it's a stepping stone for so many of our Canadians on the team.
That is Kylie Maas, who, while growing up in Windsor, Ontario, was a competitive hockey and soccer player when she wasn't training in her backyard swimming pool. No wonder she went on to get a kinesiology degree at the University of Toronto. Not sure whether she dabbled in this sport, though. Care to venture a guess based on those sound effects, what sport that is?
It sounds like table tennis.
Oh, interesting. Not billiards either. Either of those two have been the guess of most this morning.
Okay.
Instead, it is lawn bowls. And Canada has one of the best in the business. That is Hanover, Ontario's Ryan Bester. He has won medals at 3 different Commonwealth Games. Unfortunately, Ryan got bested yesterday in his opening match by an opponent from India, although we're still in the round-robin phase of the lawn bowls tournament. CBC has coverage from Glasgow over the next week and a half.
And finishing with some footy.
Okay, I'm not over the World Cup yet. And I know others are in the same position, and the numbers suggest as much, Julie. This summer's tournament, the most watched edition in Canadian history. Numerous says that nearly 31.5 million people, or 77% of Canada, watched the tournament at some point. The average viewer taking in about 15 hours of footy. The best watched match, aside from the final in Canada, was the Canada versus Morocco contest, where 12 million people tuned in, making it easily the most watched soccer game with a Canadian participant in history.
Wow. Some startling numbers there. Thanks for doing this.
Have a great weekend.
You as well. Scott Regehr with CBC Sports. Your CBC News starts now.
This is CBC News. At 7:30, we're at 19 degrees with mostly cloudy skies and a heat warning in downtown Winnipeg. We are expecting a muggy day ahead. Good morning, I'm Matt Humphrey. The search is over in Whiteshell Provincial Park. The body of 13-year-old Aaron O. Ramirez was recovered at 7:45 last night on the shore of Nudimick Lake, 24 hours after the body of his 10-year-old brother Maximo was found. The 2 boys had been presumed drowned since going into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday. Alison Baker-Thiessen is the owner of Nudimick Lodge, where the boys' parents have been staying.
The family is very much grieving right now. They're so happy that they found him, but they are in a lot of pain, and this is going to be a very challenging time for them and for a long time coming.
These are the 3rd and 4th drownings in the Sturgeon Falls area since 2023. The province's environment minister says he's expecting to see a site assessment report in the coming days before deciding what safety improvements should be made. U.S. President Donald Trump's latest set of tariff hikes is sparking anger among trading partners. Canada and other countries are being hit with an extra tariff of 10%, while some are seeing 12.5%. Several countries, including ours, object to what they call unfounded labor claims. A U.S. investigation serving as the basis for the tariffs did not provide meaningful evidence to support allegations of forced labor. Some residents are getting frustrated with the ongoing closure of the Dauphin Regional Hospital. It was closed at the beginning of the month due to extensive flooding damage in the basement. Kimberly Shanowski was dealing with her own flooded basement when she learned her father had to be moved to a health center in Treeherne, roughly 200 kilometers southeast of Dauphin. 3 weeks later, she's only had the chance to visit him once, and her mother hasn't had the chance at all.
My mom is 88 years old, so she said that that's just too much of a drive for her. So we've gone from being able to go and visit my dad every day in Dauphin here to she hasn't seen him since the end of June.
So it's been a little frustrating and upsetting for her.
Prairie Mountain Health says service disruptions could last months. Shanowski says she'd like to see a temporary facility set up in the city so there are medical services nearby. In his almost 3 years of leading Manitoba, Wab Kinew has yet to make a public visit to Steinbach. The premier had one meeting with healthcare workers in 2024, but that was behind closed doors. He's gone on no tours, attended no community events, and made no funding announcements. Kelvin Gertson is the PC MLA for Steinbach. He says the premier's absence from Manitoba's third largest city contradicts Kinew's messaging about provincial unity.
It really is about fulfilling a promise that there is one Manitoba, right? And that you should be seen and to be knowledgeable about every part of the province. And sometimes being knowledgeable means showing up.
Kinew says he is planning to visit Steinbach later this year for the next Pride Parade, and he wants Gertson to join him. Gertson has yet to attend a Pride event. With a new MLA elected earlier this week, leaders in the PAW are hoping for renewed provincial interest in local issues. New Democrat Jennifer Flett was elected Tuesday with a massive majority, and it's hoped she'll tackle homelessness and addictions care, among other issues. Northern Manitoba has the highest rates of substance abuse anywhere in the province. Robert Morales runs Oscar's Place, the PAW's homeless shelter. He says the two often go hand in hand.
I need support from the government, especially to end homelessness here up north, or deal with addictions here. We got not enough treatment centers or resources for addictions here.
Northern residents often have to go to Winnipeg for advanced health care. And finally, in case you missed it, eligible voters in 3 Manitoba resort communities can cast their ballots today instead of October. Winnipeg Beach, the rural municipality of Victoria Beach, and Dunatur are holding municipal elections. Wade Viermismich moved to Dunatur. Last year, he's planning to vote, and he's been doing his research on the candidates.
I want to make sure that we have an input as to what's going on. And with the local rains and, all the flooding we had around the area, especially a little bit down the road in Matlock, I want to make sure that their culverts get replaced.
People can vote today from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And for more on that story or any of our stories, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba, or you can use the CBC News app. That is your local news from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 8:30. Help me out with the pronunciation of that town.
Dunatur.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Easy for me to say.
Well, I had it. Right before the cast.
I know. That's how it goes.
Back
Thank
soon.
you, Matt Humphrey. Is that right? Yeah, it is. It's Matt Humphrey at the CBC News Desk. All right. Abby is checking our forecast, and it is a hot, humid one.
I'm just going to tell you, summary, it's going to be smoky and it's going to be hot across the province today. The south will push close to 40 degrees, while up north, the smoke will be impacting the region. Winnipeg, we're close to 20 now. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds, some rain showers and some thunderstorms in the mix, and we warm up to 30 degrees later today.
All right. Thanks to Abby. So far, a great commute for you if you are making your way into the downtown or wherever you're headed in the province. If you are having problems in traffic, give Sierra a call, 204-788-3093. A pair of New Brunswick buddies are cycling across Canada. Thomas Clark and Val Dukin are raising awareness for men's mental health and fundraising for Movember Canada. They're calling the campaign Men Don't Ride Alone. They started in Nova Scotia over a month ago and have biked over 3,000 kilometers so far. Yesterday, rolling into Manitoba and right into our studios this morning. Welcome, Thomas. Welcome, Val.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Whose mom is listening?
Mine.
You want to say hi to Mom?
Hi, Mom.
First? Okay, there we go. Why did you both decide to start this journey? Let's start with you, Val.
Well, basically, back in September of 2025, I went to the hospital in Moncton for personal struggles and substance abuse problems. When I got out and I got help, I wanted to make a difference in the world, and I thought of this way, and Thomas was right along with me the whole time. So, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about those struggles? I know it's hard, but this is why you're doing it, right?
Well, I had a lot of substance abuse problems in my life, which put me down a dark place. It was really good to get help, and that's the big point of our mission, is to let people know that they can seek help, and that life does get better at the end of the day.
And you didn't wait. I mean, you're a young man.
Yeah.
This could have gone down a very long path, but you're being an interrupter, as they say. And to me, I don't know if this was planned, but to me, it's almost symbolic. We talk about people saying, well, you're not alone, right? And now you're not doing this ride alone. You got a buddy with you.
Yeah, exactly. That was the big point of it all, was for us to do it together and have each other helping out every single day.
You know, maybe when one of you isn't feeling so great, the other one's...
Yeah. Tom had a little accident on day 8, and I took a little bit more mileage after that. But yeah.
So symbolic and also physical. So, Thomas, when Val said, hey, man, what are you doing this summer? You feel like biking several thousand kilometers across the country. Was that something you went, oh, sure, yeah, no problem?
Yeah, so he called me at about, it was past 10 o'clock at night, and he lives about 2.5 hours away. And he called me, he's like, man, I see Maddie Kennedy doing what she's doing. And he's like, I want to make a difference. I want to do something like this. And I've always wanted to do something like this, explore the world, make an impact, do something important. So I told him, I was like, all right, if you're serious about this, I said, come over right now. And like, come over is a 2.5 hour drive. And he showed up at my door at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we stayed up until, I think, 6 in the morning, doing logistics, figuring out if this was even possible to make happen. And now we're sitting here. So we put in the work, and it's been an incredible journey so far. It really has.
Obviously, your friend has inspired you. What did you bring to the table? Is this something that you felt passionate about as well, or is this more about supporting Val?
Definitely both. 100% supporting Val. I was also diagnosed with ADHD when I was in grade 2. A lot of people think it's just you can't sit still, but there's a lot of mental struggles and hurdles that come with having ADHD that I don't think are talked about enough. So when he came to me with this I thought, hey, this connects right with what I believe in, because I worked really hard to get my mentality to where it is today. So if I can push people to also work on that, that have ADHD, that'd be huge, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not easy, but you can get there.
Val, for you, why did you decide to say this is the focus, men's mental health specifically?
It's everything I've struggled with. I mean, I know people personally, too, that have gone through a lot, and it's just not a subject that's talked about enough. When we started this, it was still in June, which is Men's Mental Health Month. So, yeah, that was
it all kind of came together.
It did.
So for you, too, Thomas, it was kind of a no-brainer on, aside from let's go do this, but the drive, the reason, the goal.
Of course. It was absolutely a no-brainer. As Val said, this is something that needs to be talked about more. In the past, it's been men just go to work and don't talk about their feelings, and even if they are struggling, to keep it to themselves. And
especially young men, do you think?
Yeah.
100%. So we're trying to change that. I mean, it's okay to talk to someone and get some help if you're going through struggle, man or woman, anybody. So that's the message we're trying to push.
Okay, so you're going across the country, you're seeing the people on the side of the road, you're making stops like this, but you're also documenting this on social media. What's been the response so far, Val?
It's been really good. The support's been absolutely unreal. We had big companies reach out to us, like Canadian Tire, who started sponsoring us. They just texted us on Instagram, and they were like, hey, we love what you guys are doing, and we want to be a part of this. So the social media side has been hard to keep up with, along with everything else. We're only us two doing everything, right? So it's been really hard to keep up with, but we're taking it day by day.
How much have you raised so far, and what's the goal? Do you have one?
Yep. Yeah, we're just over $6,500 now. We set a big goal of $250,000, which we're going to keep pushing to get there. And we do have big news for everyone once this trip's over. So it's not the end.
This is not the end. What was it like to get that text from Canadian Tire, Thomas?
It was fine. We were both.
Did you think it was real?
Yes, it started with Canada's Instagram page, actually, their tourism page. So we're laying there in bed, we're about to go to sleep, and he looks, he goes, Canada just commented on our post. I'm like, what do you mean Canada commented on our post? And they tagged Canadian Tire to try to help us out. And Canadian Tire, that probably an hour later, came in and was like, hey, guys, what do you want to do? I want to work with you guys. We love what you're doing. So...
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got this idea at 10 o'clock at night, Val, is it because, like, would I regularly see you cycling? Is this a thing?
No, actually, we were both completely unexperienced. We had zero biking experience. We got our bikes about, I think, 3 weeks before the whole trip started. They both got given to us by the community. Tom's a basketball player, and I'm a big gym goer, but I don't do cardio. So
you do now.
I do now. No, it was it was really, really sudden.
Oh, and what has the cycling experience been like, Thomas?
It's been fun. It's really cool being able to see the country at about 20 kilometers an hour so far. So we've seen a lot of cool things and met a lot of cool people. People have stopped on the side of the road and just to say hi to us. And the community we've brought together so far, where we're not even done, has been out of this world.
What's your message to any man, any young man, any older man who's silently struggling and listening to you right now?
That you're not alone. Absolutely. I think it's a lot bigger of a problem than anyone even thinks. So what I'd say is just take it day by day. If you're having a bad day, try to make tomorrow better, even if it's just by a little bit.
And Val?
Yeah, I'd be right on that same boat. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, back in September of last year, my life was not where I wanted it to be, and now I've never been this happy in my life. So I truly believe life changes for the better.
Minute by minute sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Minute by minute, hour by hour, second by second, getting on a bike or putting on some shoes or even just getting up and having a shower, whatever it takes. And I mean, it's a big leap from just maybe getting up and having a shower to cycling across the country, but you're making a difference. Where can people follow your progress, make a donation, throw it all out there?
Yeah, it's Men Don't Ride Alone on Instagram, Facebook. We also have a website. On the website, you'll see the GoFundMe link. On the Instagram and Facebook in our bios, you'll also find the GoFundMe link as well.
The very best to both of you. And I am a mom, so I'm going to give you the mom thing right now. It's going to be very hot for the next little while. So do you guys have lots of water and all of that?
Oh, yeah. So we drink about a 2-4 of water a day.
Yeah. So that's a different kind of 2-4, right?
Yes, it is.
2-4 of water. So, well, welcome to Manitoba. Safe riding, okay? Be careful. Raise lots of money. Keep doing what you're doing. Shout it from the rooftops. You're doing amazing things. It's lovely to meet you here in the center of Canada, right here.
Yeah.
The very best to your travels once again. Give the Instagram handle one more time.
It is Men Don't Ride Alone. Any support that comes our way, we're more than appreciative. So thank you, everybody.
And I want to say I love my mom one more time.
There you go. She's going to give you an extra $25 just for that. We love the moms too. So Thomas Clark, Val Dukin, thank you so very much. They are cycling across Canada to raise awareness and funds for men's mental health.
How do you listen to your favorite Manitoba shows when you're on the move? Get your daily dose of information radio, Radio Noon, and Up to Speed, live and on demand. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. It's the easiest way to keep our province at your fingertips. Download the CBC News app today.
Our series looking at the different perspectives on police shootings where mental health is a factor continues. If you're just tuning in, over the past 7 years, CBC Manitoba has reported on 6 fatal police shootings, which appear to involve mental health aspects, including one that happened last week in Winnipeg's Linden Woods neighborhood. We've heard from the former civilian director of Manitoba's police watchdog, a criminologist, a New York-based group that works closely with police responding to calls with mental health factors, and also the Winnipeg Police Accountability Coalition. Now we want to get the perspective from the provincial government. Matt Wiebe is Manitoba's Justice Minister. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Julie.
From your perch on Broadway, how big a concern is it for you when mental health aspects are involved when individuals are shot by police?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we saw in Lindenwoods and in other cases, I think are some of the worst possible outcomes that you could have to a situation like this. This is a situation where somebody has reached out to police, called for help, and somebody was shot and somebody was killed, and that's devastating for the family. That's upsetting for the whole community, and I think for anyone, I think a lot of us who have somebody in their family or in their circles that struggle with mental health, this is really unnerving. And so I think we need to get this right. I think we need to continue to add the resources to make sure that there's the supports for these victims, for families, and also to make sure that police have the training and the resources and tools that they need to deploy the right resources to these kinds of calls.
What does, as you say, getting it right look like?
Well, as I said, I think what people are looking for when they reach out for help, when somebody calls 911, they need to have that confidence that the response will be appropriate, that it's going to be adequate to the situation that they're dealing with, and that the response is ultimately a prudent one that involves the right mix of mental health supports, law enforcement to keep not only officers safe, but the public safe, and ensures that we're bringing in community partners wherever possible. So, our government has been supporting, the initiative to bring mental health workers into the mix to be part of the solution along with Winnipeg Police Service.
Winnipeg Police have the alternative response to civilians in crisis unit, pairing plainclothes officers with mental health workers. But that program is only operational from 8 in the morning to 11 at night, and they're not allowed to respond to potentially violent incidents. Experts and advocates we've spoken to say that's too limited. How would you like to see that ARC program, as it's known, work?
Yeah, we've seen success with the ARC program. Obviously, a big need for that program. And just to put it in perspective, in 2025, almost 3,500 incidents were attended to by ARC. But we know the outcomes are really positive in the sense that for many of those cases, more than 2/3 folks stay in community. There's no further apprehension by law enforcement. There is that de-escalation that people are looking for. And so we know that ARC is a positive program. Again, that's part of our commitment to add 100 mental health workers, and that's across the board through community and law enforcement. We're supporting ARC, and we increased the funding to that program because we know it works.
Is it too narrow? I had the good fortune to speak to one organization on Wednesday out of New York who is partnered with police there. All of their individuals who are responding with police have lived experience with addiction or mental health issues. And I asked the CEO of that organization, are there any calls you can't go to? And he said no. So is this something you'd like to see ARC expanded so that these individuals who have perhaps lived experience or at least experience in the field of mental health or addictions could go to any incident instead of being limited?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the success that ARC has is that it couples those mental health supports with law enforcement. And so I think it's that partnership that really we see the success in the program because of that. That being said, I think there's definitely situations where we need to ensure if a situation escalates beyond the scope of an ARC response, that police have the additional training, and that that we ensure that police, if there is a need to have that law enforcement only response, that they also can de-escalate and they can also have that trauma-informed response that will ensure that situations don't get to a point that we saw here in this latest situation.
Would you be open to speaking with some of these organizations? I can appreciate Winnipeg, Manitoba is always unique unto itself, but there are perhaps groups that are doing the right things and parts of programs that could be copied. Would you be open to researching with some of these groups and speaking with them about what they're doing and the success that they're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for the model that we have already here in Manitoba and Winnipeg specifically. For instance, we have already a response with the Downtown Community Safety Partnership that can be deployed by police to give that layered response to mental health crises. So the first person that somebody would see when somebody calls 911 and there's a crisis would be, in this case, a DCSP worker, a mental health trained worker. And then they have the ability then to bring in more resources as necessary.
Yesterday, as part of this series, we heard from Abdi Ahmed, the co-chair of the Winnipeg Police Accountability Coalition. Take a listen.
People continue to be stuck in old mindset that, militaristic tendencies will solve these problems. We cannot shoot ourselves out of mental health crisis situations. We need to be compassionate. We need to allow community to contribute to be able to solve these problems.
What's your response to what Abdi had to say there?
Yeah, I think he's got it exactly right. That compassionate response and one that involves and includes community is exactly the path forward. I think there's a lot of room for adding capacity to the system and doing that in a way that partners with community organizations, whether that's, as I said, DCSP, or newcomer communities or Indigenous communities that traditionally there's been a barrier or there's been some distrust of law enforcement. I think it's important to bring them on board and to really show that our government is committed to building out the resources around mental health specifically, but doing so in a way that leans into their expertise and their knowledge about what the community needs and how they respond best to those additional resources.
What's keeping you up at night in terms of questions when it comes to Winnipeg police, specifically in the use of force cases where mental health is a factor?
Well, like I said, I think probably most of your listeners, have folks in my family and my circles that suffer from mental health. And, I think what we don't want is we don't want to have just one size fits all when it comes to a response. We need to have the kind of response that really, addresses the root causes, goes to those root cause issues that have brought that crisis to that individual and to community, and then delivers the right kind of response.
Do you think a change is needed when it comes to policing and mental health, and perhaps even from your workplace, maybe a better collaboration, or maybe you can detail the collaboration that is happening between your portfolio and that of the health minister, Uzoma Azaguera?
Yeah, it's a good point. That this is a whole of government response, and whether it be Minister Azaguera or Minister Smith with housing addictions and homelessness, that's where the partnership is happening within government to ensure that we're able to deploy these resources in the right way to support law enforcement and to support community.
Are you having conversation with police leaders across this province about how this issue needs to be tackled? Because what needs to be done perhaps in Winnipeg could look very different than Thompson, than Brandon, than an RM, for example.
Yeah, we are. And part of the work that we're doing right now is reviewing the police standards across this province and ensuring that when we're talking about next steps, that training is a big part of that. Again, there's some good best practices that we can lean into that really focus on de-escalation training for understanding responses to mental health crises.
What power do you have in terms of provincial government levers to change the way police forces operate, specifically when it comes to this issue in Manitoba?
Well, I think it really comes down to training and standards that we expect out of law enforcement in communities across the province. I mean, I want to be clear that law enforcement wants to be a part of the solution here. They understand the impact that this has in community and also has on their members and the way that they respond to calls. So I do feel like we have willing partners in law enforcement, and what we're looking to do is to bring together some of the best practices when it comes to training and supports, and really couple that with the work that law enforcement's already doing, and then ensure that it's happening across the province in a really meaningful way.
I don't think that anyone expects that a police officer wants to go into a situation and wind up in a fatal encounter. Are we putting too much pressure on police officers to handle this in a, for lack of a better way, a police response instead of a mental health response, if you understand what I'm saying?
I think, as I said, I think law enforcement wants to be a part of the solution here too. They understand that we need to have the right response. And sometimes when responding to a call, I think officers are put in a place where, they don't have the support and the resources to do the work in the way that I think they probably would like to do it either. And so, again, this comes down to fundamentally a support for law enforcement or increase to their budget, of 32% over the last 3 years that our government has been in power. But it's about then using those resources to also build out the capacity outside of that law enforcement response. And again, mental health supports is a huge part of that.
Minister Wiebe, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Julie.
Matt Wiebe is Manitoba's Minister of Justice. Next half hour, the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame is out with its 2026 inductees. We'll speak with one of them after World Report.
On Cue. I'm Garvey Bailey, in for Tom Power. She's a magician, comedian, fire eater, and the creative force behind the internet sensation Lucy Darling. Carissa Hendricks will be here to tell you about finding a community of magicians in Calgary and what it's like navigating the male-dominated field.
You're thinking, well, I suppose I could do that if I wanted to.
Cue, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Rebecca Zanbergen. Canada's cities are filled with rivers and lakes, but often people are hesitant to swim in them, worried about how clean the water is or a lack of infrastructure. The push to reclaim swim spots in the city coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. It's considered to be a major milestone in Canada-U.S. trade. Today, officials will attend a ceremony to celebrate the upcoming opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. But it comes at a time when trade relations between the two nations are strained, all of which means today's celebration of what should represent a stronger bond between the two nations won't be a joint celebration. The CBC's Nisha Patel has more.
And there's lots of excitement on both sides of the border.
Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkin says it's been a long time coming. The Gordie Howe Bridge that will connect his Ontario city to Detroit, Michigan, is about to open after more than 7 years of construction that cost $6.4 billion. Canadian officials will celebrate the occasion today, though escalating trade tensions prompted them to back out of a joint ribbon cutting with Americans.
We're caught in this dramatic event with President Trump, but this bridge is going to serve the needs of our two countries for many, many generations to come.
The project has been plagued by opposition from the billionaire owners of the competing Ambassador Bridge, as well as demands by Donald Trump to renegotiate the original deal. Canada, which funded the bridge alone, has now inked a separate agreement to share with the U.S. net revenues from tolls after operating costs for the first 15 years. President of the Canadian Trucking Alliance, Stephen Laskowski, says it's worth it.
It's a beacon for investment. It's a beacon for more efficiency.
Billions of dollars in goods pass back and forth over the Ontario-Michigan border every year. The new crossing opens to commercial traffic on Monday and will cut wait times for truckers, saving businesses time and money.
You're reducing your cost, you're becoming more productive, which allows you to reinvest into your fleets.
a much-needed boost for Canadian companies as they navigate an uncertain economy. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Australia is one of the many countries speaking out against U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariffs. As of midnight, the U.S. imposed duties of 10 to 12.5% on more than 60 trading partners, including Canada. The White House claims the new levies are because those countries aren't doing enough to end forced labor. Nations around the world are reacting. Don Farrell is Australia's trade minister.
We think and we believe, the Albanese government believes, that this imposition of higher tariffs on Australia is completely unjustified, and we will continue to lobby the United States Trade Representative to remove all tariffs on Australian goods.
Canada's Trade Minister, Dominic LeBlanc, says that the move was not unexpected and adds Canada has one of the world's most robust frameworks to prevent and address forced labor. Student protesters in India say the country's education minister needs to resign. It's one of the demands student leaders have put forward in a meeting with government officials today. Massive demonstrations started after a national medical entrance exam was leaked. Roughly 2 million students were forced to retake it. Neha Punya has more on the growing movement.
Calls for revolution and change. As a youth-led protest becomes the latest show of dissent against Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 12-year rule. On Friday, solidarity marches took place across major Indian cities as tens of thousands of people continue to camp in the heart of Delhi.
The education minister must resign. He clearly isn't capable.
And now some are even calling for Mr. Modi to go.
The Prime Minister needs to go. Just removing one minister won't fix anything.
The protest started after a major medical exam paper leaked, but it has now become a Gen Z uprising against unemployment and the government's handling of the student protests. The movement is called the Cockroach Janata Party after India's top judge called unemployed young people cockroaches. The party's representatives held talks with 2 Indian ministers on Friday and claim New Delhi has asked for time to consider their demands. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who never does unscripted, unplanned media interactions, issued a rare video message. He is promising to bring in legislation to fix exam leaks.
We will make every effort to get this bill passed by the House at the earliest.
But protesters on the ground say just bringing in another law won't fix a broken system and that they won't leave until the education minister is sacked or removed. Neha Punya for CBC News, New Delhi.
The European Commission says TikTok is not adequately protecting children's privacy rights. That's the finding of an investigation into the company's compliance with its Digital Services Act. The Commission says accounts of minors can be accessed by adults, and it says by not blocking that feature, children are at risk of cyberbullying, unwanted contact, and predatory behavior. TikTok can now defend itself and respond to the findings. If not satisfied with the company's response, the Commission could issue a non-compliance decision and a possible fine worth up to 6% of TikTok's total annual revenue. They're promoted to help improve your skin, shed those pounds, and invigorate your libido. But Health Canada has been warning about the risks of unauthorized peptides. Now, a CBC News investigation has uncovered doctors using a regulatory loophole to prescribe peptide pills. As Ithel Musa reports, experts say the treatments are unproven, potentially risky, and they want that loophole closed.
Peptides might sound like the future of health, but they are already here.
Despite their growing popularity on social media, Health Canada has been warning against unauthorized peptides as a health and fitness shortcut, citing serious risks like hormonal imbalances and the growth of cancerous tumors.
I cannot tell you how obsessed with BPC I am.
BPC 157 is promoted online by influencers to help repair muscles and improve gut health. The peptide has not been approved by Health Canada. The regulator also says there is limited scientific evidence to support its use. But CBC News has found more than a dozen doctor-led clinics in Canada prescribing the peptide in pill form.
Look, there is no good evidence to support
the use of these peptides in the way that they're generally being prescribed.
Timothy Caulfield is a professor in the Faculty of Law and the School of Public Health at the University of Alberta.
These physicians, these MDs, are leveraging a longevity wellness trend.
Health Canada says BPC 157 is not an authorized drug, and it's not approved for use in any natural health products, but it may be compounded in pill form as a natural health product by pharmacies that formulate custom medications.
Compounding pharmacies are not supposed to be a way to go around regulatory rules.
One doctor who prescribes BPC 157 pills says he's not circumventing regulatory oversight. He always seeks to optimize patient care, and he's candid with patients about the state of the research on BPC 157. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
Singer Chris Brown has pleaded guilty to what's called a fray in a London court. The charge refers to a public fight or disturbance. The guilty plea is related to a 2023 altercation at a London nightclub during which a music producer was hit over the head with a bottle. Brown previously denied a more serious assault charge. The controversial Grammy Award-winning singer has been released on bail. He's set to be sentenced on the charge in October. A Newfoundland community is grieving after 2 men died at sea while fishing for cod. The incident now promoting calls for changes to fishing regulations. The CBC's Laura Howells has more.
Do anything for anybody.
Sisters and a niece remembering Stanley Giles, 66 and a fisherman for most of his life.
He went out there and he risked his life every day on the water to provide for his family, but you know what? He didn't want to be anywhere else.
Giles and Michael Peter Seymour died this week. They were cod fishing when their speedboat took on water. Stanley's brother, Junior, survived. He declined an interview, but swam about 100 meters in the Atlantic and climbed onto the rocks. He pulled Seymour ashore and did CPR to save him. He waited hours for a rescue boat. Then he helped search the water for his brother's body.
We got to stay strong for the one that survived.
The devastating loss is prompting calls for change from Giles' family and other fish harvesters. The water was rough, but it was one of the few days the processor was buying. They have limited capacity and strict schedules. If it's not your day, you don't fish.
What do you do when you only got a couple of days to get your quota? You take the risk, you go.
Provincial Representative Lynn Paddock says he'll take concerns back to the fisheries minister and federal government, but said now is the time for supporting the families. But for people here, now is the time for action, hoping for more control in what days people can fish so they don't have to risk rough seas.
One thing I'd like for to come out of this is that the government would make change. We have 2 more souls gone.
Laura Howells, CBC News, Harbour Round, Newfoundland and Labrador.
And that is the latest news. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning to you. I'm Julie Buckingham in for Marcy Marcusa today. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. 89.3 FM, 990 AM. On the app. And also on YouTube. Welcome to Friday morning. Outside our studio in downtown Winnipeg at Portage and Spence, still locked in at about 19 degrees. We are anticipating a very hot and humid day today. In fact, the city is under a yellow warning for heat, as is the city of Brandon. Also warnings in the north. Abby will detail all of that for you in just a few moments. Just ahead on the show, the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame announcing its 2026 inductees, and we'll speak with one of them about his decades-long career as a coach and how it feels to be a member of the Hall of Fame Club. Looking forward to that conversation just ahead. Let's head over to the news center now with Matt Humphrey.
Good morning. After nearly a week of searching, a grieving family finally has some degree of closure. The body of Aaron O. Ramirez was recovered from Nunavik Lake last night at 7:45. Police say the 13-year-old had jumped into Sturgeon Falls after his little brother, Maximo, slipped on the rocks. The body of Maximo was found Wednesday evening. After notifying the family, RCMP thanked the fleet of volunteers who helped in the search. At the bottom of the hour, we hear the latest from Nunavik Lodge, where the family has been staying. And in case you missed it, we're seeing democracy in action today in cottage country. If you live in Dunnottar or the RM of Victoria Beach or Winnipeg Beach, you can vote today in municipal elections. Polling stations are now open and will remain open until 8 tonight. Most Manitobans won't get a chance to cast municipal ballots until October, but Dunnottar, Winnipeg Beach, Victoria Beach do it every 4 years on the fourth Friday of July. More news at 8:30.
And congratulations, Matt.
On saying Dunnottar properly? Yes. No, I got it. It's in there forever now. It's not going anywhere.
Thank you for that.
Back soon.
All right, Matt Humphrey at your news desk. And it is time to check your weather as well. Abby Adiemi, really a difficult day in terms of breathing in some parts of the province.
Yeah, heat and wildfire smoke continues to be the headline across the province today. We see the heat warnings remaining in effect across the Red River Valley region, the Pembina, the Westman, and even into the Interlake region, where we will see the humidex climb to the values close to 40 degrees today. While if you look at the northern part of the province, we still have air quality warnings in place, spreading into the Par, Flin Flon towards Norway, towards Lean Lake and Tuduli Lake this morning. Wildfire smoke really keeping the air really poor, and of course reduced visibility present there, so spending time outdoors will not be the best. And for the south, you will need to drink plenty of water. Look behind me, Julie. It is dark outside already in the city. We're sitting around 19 degrees. Light showers already being tracked at the airport moving into the city. More showers and thunderstorms are likely as we head into the morning, with another round of storms late this afternoon. And of course, we will notice coming in with that will be local smoke developing later as the winds increase within the city limits. So look out for that. Our highs will be climbing to 30 degrees today, but the humidex in the city will be sitting around 38 with a very high UV index. We're talking about 8 plus. Then we'll gradually see the skies clear tonight, but we will notice the smoke in the air. Now across the southern regions, temperatures already climbing close to 20 degrees in most of the regions, and of course showers and thunderstorms already starting in some areas. But up north, it's more about the fog, the light rain, the smoke, and of course the heat in some areas. Winnipeg right now, we're near 20 degrees. We have light rain in the city. We're expecting a hot afternoon of 30 degrees.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Sarah Sanders is our show's director and is also monitoring traffic. It's been quiet.
It has been very quiet, Julie. I like to think that folks are getting a head start on their weekend. They're already out at the cottage. They're already wherever they are vacationing, or maybe they're just staying at home and hanging out for the morning. That's what I'm kind of suspecting, because, yeah, it's been pretty quiet on the commuter line this morning. Not too much, or if anything, to report this morning, which to me is good. Things are moving along out there. But one thing to note is that as we heard in sports this morning, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are back in action tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. So traffic will get will pick up in that area around the stadium. So you want to be aware of that if you live there or you're planning to.
And I think there's lots of barricades.
There's lots of construction going on over there. So expect some delays if you are just trying to move around casually. The traffic will pick up in the evening hour. But we still have some time left in the show, so if there's something you want to let me know about, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
15 minutes now after 8 o'clock, and it is official. The Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame out with this year's inductees. 6 icons from curling, swimming, rugby, para-athletics, and more being honored. Wayne McMahon is a track and field coach for over 5 decades, a former phys ed teacher and head coach and co-founder of Winnipeg Optimist Athletics. He's also a Sport Manitoba Coach of the Year, a recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal. Wayne joins us now from here in Winnipeg to talk more about the sport that gave him a sense of community and what it means to get this newest honor. Wayne, thank you for joining us this morning on Information Radio.
Thank you.
That's a lot of accolades.
Yeah, it took a lot of years, but a great trip. It is a great experience and great to work with all the people in track and field. It's been the people that have kept me there, the athletes, fellow coaches, mentors, officials, all the wonderful people who it's been great to work with.
How did it feel when you get that notification that says, Wayne, you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
It's a bit of a surprise. You're initially thinking, but it's a great honor. It's nice to get that recognition sometimes. So.
And as we kind of go into the Commonwealth Games, we were talking about that in sports this morning. You grew up around track and field, and uncle throwing discus in the 1954 Commonwealth Games. How did you then get involved personally in track?
I had a great phys ed teacher, Larry Hodkinson, who involved me initially. And then I had a great run of coaches that encouraged me, that gave me the opportunity in the sport, and that led to eventually getting a scholarship to compete at University of Manitoba on the track team there. And I continued it for a number of years and then moved into coaching.
And I understand that you grew up or you were born in Winnipeg, but you kind of moved around a little bit. So you got to really see this province and experience sport in different environments, from urban to rural.
Yeah, I initially was in a small town, Boissevain, and then end of high school, I was in Brandon, Manitoba. So yeah, it's a little different setting, and the sport opportunities were at that time were slightly limited. But track and field was the one that gave me a chance to excel and to get off the bench and to do a lot of things.
At 15, I understand you lost your dad. Did sport help you through that experience?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I think the coaches and the people around me were very supportive the next few years. And from a larger family with there's 5 siblings and my mother, we were kind of thrown aback for a while. So it was comforting to have the people around and friends in the sport. I still am close friends with many of the people that I ran and competed with. Some of them over 60 years. We're still close friends. We do things together.
You did well as an athlete, winning a Canadian Junior Championship in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. And then ultimately, what made you say, okay, once this part of my career is done, I'm going to transition and become a coach?
I think there was kind of a void. My coach at the time retired, and some of the other athletes that were training in the club asked me to step in. So I was a couple of times I was just asked to step in and take that role. And I'd worked a number of clinics and camps and with the Legion Athletic Camp and things of that nature. So I started getting involved, and it became a bigger thing and then in 1979 we formed the Winnipeg Optimist Athletic Club, which has grown over the years. Initially 4 of us, now more than 20 coaches and almost 300 athletes. So.
Wow, that's an impact for sure. And then as you look back over 50 years of coaching, what keeps you motivated to keep going?
I think it's the athletes, the enthusiasm, the goals they set for themselves, their motivation to move on. It's great to see them accomplish what they set out to do and the work to do it. Just that sense of being part of something and enjoying the training and the process.
A lot of sports in this country get more of the headlines, if you will. You hear about hockey a lot. You hear about football and some of the major sports. But when it comes to track, is that maybe something that people should think more about? Because again, you don't need a lot of equipment or a lot of things to get started in track and field.
I guess we've prided ourselves on being accessible.
Right.
We're one sport with a pair of shoes you can join and it isn't as costly as being involved in other sports, and you get to play right away. You're off and going. So that's what attracted me years ago, and it's what we've tried hard to provide the same opportunities to other people, and it's been a good mix.
I know that when I grew up, my dad was a coach for me in many of my sports, and then my son. You always look to those who step up, if you will, and take on those roles. For those parents or caregivers who've thought about maybe giving it a go, but maybe haven't, what would your advice be to somebody who is thinking about coaching, but maybe hasn't made the leap to that?
I would say call your local athletics association or club and express that, and they offer a good series of clinics and opportunities, and there's a need for coaches. They'll plug you into the system and help you get going, support you. I had a lot of great mentors over the years, coaches who are willing to share and support and encourage, and some tremendous friends who I made through coaching.
Well, congratulations on this honor, and thank you for taking us through your athletics career and your coaching career, and enjoy this moment.
Thank you very much.
Wayne McMahon is the head coach and co-founder of Winnipeg Optimist Athletics, and he was also a Sport Manitoba Coach of the Year and will be inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame this fall.
Manitoba is a conversation that never stops. From your first coffee with information radio to the midday pulse of Radio Noon and the drive home with Up to Speed. Don't let your day get in the way of your favorite shows. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Bring your community with you. Download the CBC News app and stay live with us.
Approaching 24 minutes after 8 o'clock, Manitoba's own William Prince joins Colorado singer-songwriter Nathaniel Ratliff for their new collaboration, Change. The song is available as of today. This is William Prince featuring Nathaniel Ratliff with Change. You're listening to Information Radio, 89.3 FM, 990 AM.
Power went out for 3 days in October. An uninvited winter shut the reservation down. Wind is creeping in through the cracks in the door, 'cause nobody's lived inside a house on this piece of land before. They brought in the brushers, cut down the marshmallow trees. One more house, one more family. The only thing that changes is the change itself. The way it keeps you down and for how long. Kinda makes you thankful for just how hard it ain't on the good days and the not so good between. All these good days and the not so good between. There was a boy who lived all the days he could. Why he died so young, the whole town never understood. Late on the highway, a trailer with no brake lights stalled. Spared the father, but his only son was gone. We sewed black patches to our jerseys in the fall. Never saw his mother's face again. The changes is the change itself. The way it keeps you down and for how long. Kinda makes you thankful for just how hard it ain't on the good days and the not so good between. The only thing that changes is the change itself. The way it keeps you down and for how long. Kinda makes you thankful for just how hard it ain't on the good days and the not so good between. All these good days and the not so good between.
.3 FM, CBC Radio 1. Nathaniel Ratliff along with William Prince with Change, that song out today. Marge is now here. Thank you for wearing sunny yellow, because I'm feeling like this morning it was like, oh, it's going to be sunny, but we knew this rain was going to come and then it's going to get hot. And I was just like, oh, you walked in, you're like a little ray of sunshine.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Julie. It is really gray out there right now in Winnipeg.
So you brighten things up. If you're watching on YouTube, gorgeous color of yellow. What are you working on for Radio Noon?
Well, you've probably heard about the movie The Odyssey.
Yes.
It is out right now. We did hear from someone from Winnipeg earlier this week who made the trip all the way to Regina to watch the movie because it was meant to be viewed in IMAX. That was what Christopher Nolan's vision of the movie was. That's how it was shot.
That's dedication.
Yeah, we don't have an IMAX, like the kind that they have in Regina, here in Winnipeg. But the question we're asking is, how do you watch movies? Does it matter if it's IMAX? Is it just on your screen at home? A lot of people saying that, I'm just going to watch this movie when it comes to my home.
Right.
Online streaming very popular. Or are you that kind of person who will make that trip and go watch it in IMAX?
I think that's next level.
Yeah. So we want to hear from you today. This is sounding like it's the big blockbuster of the summer. Give us a call and share with us, how would you like to enjoy a movie? Does how you watch it matter to you?
All right.
On the show today.
Looking forward to that at noon today. Thank you, Marjorie.
Thanks, Julie.
Marjorie Dowhouse, of course, host of Radio Noon. Let's quickly thank some of the associate producers that make all of our shows happening. Corey Funk, Abby Adeyemi, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, May McKillop, Marshall Hodgsons, Jenna Kasul, Dylan Longhurst, Chloe Friesen, Sofia Peralta Barone, Emily Enns, and Kaylin Monkman. And, of course, all of our hosts here, Marjorie Dowhouse that you just heard, will be back at Radio Noon. Faith Fundal will have, of course, Up to Speed as well. And Bruce Layden is also part of our hosting team here. Your CBC News starts now.
This is CBC News. At 8:30, we're at 19 degrees with rain and a heat warning in downtown Winnipeg. We could see a thunderstorm as well. Good morning, I'm Matt Humphrey. The search is over for the bodies of two young boys who drowned in White Shell Provincial Park. The body of 13-year-old Aaron O. Ramirez was recovered last night from Nudimick Lake at 7:45. His 10-year-old brother Maximo had been found 24 hours earlier. The two brothers went into the water near Sturgeon Falls on Saturday. Allison Baker Thiessen is the owner of Nudimick Lodge, where the boys' parents have been staying. She says amongst their grief, they now also feel relief their boys have been found.
We got the community together. We got all the emergency teams together. We had countless hours of people helping out and doing wellness checks, and all the support in so many different angles.
These are the third and fourth drownings in the Sturgeon Falls area since 2023. The province's environment minister says he's expecting a site assessment report in the coming days before deciding on safety improvements. U.S. President Donald Trump's latest set of tariff hikes has sparked anger from trading partners. Canada and other countries are now being hit with extra tariffs of 10%, while some are seeing 12.5%. Several countries, including our own, object to what they call unfounded labor claims. A U.S. investigation serving as the basis for the tariffs did not provide meaningful evidence to support allegations of forced labor. An organization fighting human trafficking says short-term rentals can make it easier for the crime to go unnoticed. Some people in Charleswood want the city of Winnipeg to tighten short-term rental rules, raising concerns over a problem Airbnb, linked to a number of incidents, including a man being charged with human trafficking in 2024. Janet Campbell with the Joy Smith Foundation says criminals can go under the radar because the rentals don't have the same staff around as hotels.
There's no front desk, and oftentimes there's a lot more privacy with respect to who is coming and going from the units in comparison to hotels.
In 2024, the city made it so Airbnb owners have to have a business license and also need to post information about human trafficking in their units. Campbell says human trafficking is underreported and wants to see provinces and municipalities strengthen protections. The city of Steinbach has been waiting almost 3 years for a public visit from Manitoba's premier. Wab Kinew attended one closed-door meeting in 2024, part of his private listening tour with healthcare workers, but he has not attended any public events or met with residents in Manitoba's third-largest city. Kelvin Gertson is the PC MLA for Steinbach. He says Kinew gets a pass for skipping Steinbach in his first year as premier because he was getting acquainted with his new role.
Second year that he didn't appear, I would say, was curious, being in the third largest city in Manitoba. Now there's the third year, I would say it's concerning.
Kinew says he is planning to visit Steinbach later this year to head to the next Pride Parade, and he wants Gertson to join him. Gertson has yet to attend a Pride event. The families of several patients evacuated from Dauphin Regional Hospital are growing frustrated at the distance between them and their loved ones. The hospital was closed at the beginning of the month due to extensive flooding damage in the basement. Prairie Mountain Health says they're likely to have service disruptions for months. Kimberly Shanowski's father was moved to a medical facility roughly 200 kilometers away. She's hoping for something to be done quicker.
It would be nice to have something, or to hear of something getting set up for people, because it is kind of scary to not have access to a hospital.
Shanowski says she has not been told how long her father will be at the health facility in Treeherne, though she hopes it's not much longer. And voters from the PAW hope a new MLA will mean a fresh start fixing local issues. NDP candidate Jennifer Flett won handily on Tuesday with nearly 75% of the vote. Local leaders in the PAW say there are several areas where they'd like the new MLA to focus on, including healthcare. The hospital has had issues with safety and staffing. A new clinic is coming, but Deputy Mayor Carrie Atkinson hopes the province can bump up that opening date.
We have been told that we are going to have a healthcare clinic that'll be built in 2030, and we have let them know that, 2030 is too long. We need to be able to try and escalate that date the best that's possible for our community members.
The clinic, once it opens, will be named after the late MLA Amanda Laughlin. And that is your CBC News from Winnipeg. For news anytime, for more on that story or any of our stories, head to cbc.ca/Manitoba, or you can use the CBC News app. Thanks so much for the morning, Julie.
Thank you.
Back soon
Matt.
at 9.
At 9. Okay.
9 o'clock.
That's not, I guess that's soon.
That's pretty soon.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Matt.
Back soon.
Matt Humphrey at your CBC News desk. Sierra Sanders is back, show director and traffic commuter coordinator extraordinaire.
Waiting for someone to call. But no calls came in on the commuter line this morning. To me, it sounds like it was a pretty smooth commute out there for you. The rain has started to come down here in downtown Winnipeg, so roads might be a little slick with that rain. So be aware of that. And be aware of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back in action at Princess Auto Stadium tonight. Traffic might be a little bit busier than usual in that area.
Go Bombers.
Go Bombers. Go Blue.
All right, final check on traffic with Abby. The rain as predicted has started.
Yes, and bring some water along if you're going for the games today. It's going to be humid during the game time. But across the province, it's more about heat and wildfire smoke that continues to headline the weather today. Heat warnings in effect for the south, impacting Winnipeg and surrounding. We're seeing highs close to 40 degrees today, while up north, the air quality warnings continues with the smoke really impacting visibility and, of course, hazy skies there. The south will see highs around 37 today, but the humidity is going to be around 40 degrees. For Winnipeg, we will get to 30, and humidex will be around 38 with a UV index very high on 8. Some thunderstorms may roll in the afternoon.
Hazy, hot, humid, and hydrate has been the 4 H's of today. Thank you again to our YouTube producer, Darren Morash. Nellie Gonzalez is the show producer of the Current Affairs Unit. Leif Larson is the senior producer of audio. I'm Julie Buckingham. Thank you for spending your morning with us here at Information Radio. Be well.